Philadelphia, a Beasley Media Group station, live from the Comcast Business Studios. 97.5, The Fanatic. John Kincade, Andrew Salciunas. This is Kincade and Salciunas. 97.5, The Fanatic, and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Well, one more day until you don't have at least one of us, because we'll both be together tomorrow. But today, Kevin Cooney joins me. And look, it was a weekend of tumult and a little angsty down in Atlanta. But if you look at the reality, things are looking pretty damn good for your Philadelphia Phillies heading into the last week before the All-Star game. Plus, 76ers roster getting finalized. That's looking good. And 7 members going to Texas. We'll get to it all today on Kincade and Salciunas.
This is Kincade and Salciunas.
Stars in cities, especially like Philadelphia, they are always on the map, and we should expect more winning out of them.
And we'll go to the Eagles and Jalen Hurts. I am a believer that your best player, I think there is also a responsibility as the team spokesperson.
Kincade and Salciunas. John Kincade, Andrew Salciunas.
97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Good to be back with you on this Monday, July the 8th. John Kincade, Kevin Cooney in for the Back on American Soil, Andrew Salciunas, who will be back with me tomorrow. Kincade and Salciunas here on The Fanatic. Appreciate you being with us early on this morning. Good morning, Kev.
Good morning, John. How are you?
Good to have you in.
How was your holiday?
Really, really nice. Had a anniversary yesterday, 22nd anniversary yesterday.
That's awesome.
And a fantastic night out. To Paul's Table in Ardmore, never disappoints. Always fun, and it was a great, great day. And hopefully everybody had a great holiday weekend. The Phillies did not. Let's put it this way. The Phillies did not. And I don't know about you, Kev, but I'm dealing with a new Phillies fan in my own home. And my wife has, after 22 years of marriage, has fallen in love with the Philadelphia Phillies. She is absolutely obsessed with the Phillies.
It's the song, isn't it?
No, she does not like that. So she watches the Phillies. I think she finds many of them attractive. So it's so much more fun when in your house,
right,
everybody's into it. My daughter's into the Phillies, even though she doesn't live with us. She's at college. But it's constant Phillies, Phillies, Phillies. And it's so funny to watch people and how they react to the angst of a big series and how it goes down. I personally have told people over and over again, I refuse to consume baseball like football. I just can't do it. I can't overreact to 2 out of 3 games. I can't overreact to, if you tell me that there's major catastrophic injury, that I can overreact to. If you tell me that there is a player that for 6 weeks goes into a slump, I can absolutely react to that, and we will coming up. But for the Phillies right now, at 58-32, I've been through too many baseball seasons to concern myself with no Schwarber, no Harper, no Real Muto. And the Phillies, and even though, honestly, in a situation like yesterday, Mercado was not ready for the stage. He wasn't ready for it. Or the humidity down there in Atlanta, which can choke you out. He was terrible yesterday. But for the Phillies right now, at 58-32, I hear people speaking of angst. I go to social media, and I read of people having some angst. I honestly, my angst meter with this team is almost at 0. Almost. But this weekend, to me, the only thing I will find frustrating is they've played the Braves 6 times this year, and in 4 of the games, they have literally gotten their backsides kicked.
All right, so I will try to quell your worries about that.
That's the only thing.
Okay, you just played 3 games without a third of your lineup. A third of your starting lineup.
Critical.
Okay? Critical. Okay, so I'm not too worried about it. Before the weekend, we all said, if you take 1 out of 3 here and you have an 8-game lead, you're fine. And that's kind of what happened. They went 5-4 without Schwarber, Harper, and Real Muto in this stretch. I mean, that's not bad.
No, that's absolutely.
That's pretty good.
That's wild to me.
And the beginning of the series, the beginning of the year, it's the first series, so you really don't get a gauge. And it was everything for Atlanta that first weekend, coming off of getting beat for a second straight year, coming in here to Citizens Bank Park. They were fired up that first weekend. So I'm not worried about the season series at this point. They're going to be fine. This is more, to me, John, this coming week, because you're going to probably have Harper back at some point here in the Dodgers series. You're going to have Schwarber back on Tuesday night. This is more of a measuring stick series coming up for me against the Dodgers than it was against the Braves. I'm not worried about the Braves are going to be there at the end. You're probably going to have to see them in the playoffs at some point. The Dodgers, to me, though, are the real measuring stick right now for the Phillies when you look at National League supremacy and getting home field advantage in a potential LCS.
When you look at the Phillies in this stretch right now, no Schwarber, no Harper, no Real Muto. I mean, that's catastrophic.
Yeah.
You can't evaluate. They're not the Phillies. They're wearing the laundry, but they're not the Phillies.
And I get it. The Cubs stink, and they had the Marlins at the beginning. But you go to Chicago, where they have struggled traditionally. The last couple of years, they've been fine. But they have not played well at Wrigley, for the most part, as this group. And you took 2 or 3 there. You lost 2 or 3 in Atlanta. This is the way it's treading water. And that's all they had to do through this stretch until they got Harper and Schwarber back.
I was looking at baseball season, especially one where a team gets out to a lead, as part of what you're doing is bleeding the clock.
Oh, yeah. We've entered that point. Because
you think we're already there.
I think we're already there because they're 12 games up on the wild card. Like, I know you and I have had this disagreement about whether divisions matter or not.
Right.
I still don't. The Phillies can win the division, and in my mind, it's great. You hang a pennant. It'll be a great year, all that. It's not going to matter one bit when you get to October. In fact, it may punish you in October with the way the format is set up. The idea that you come back, and by the way, you're going right into a best of 5 if you have the bye. But look, in my mind, we're in bleed the clock mode. Every move that Dave Dombrowski is going to make at the end of the year or at the end of the month is going to be for October. It's not going to be for getting to October.
Okay, so if we're in bleed the clock mode, well, I don't believe we're there yet. I can understand why you think it.
Well, the rest of the National League stinks. That's why.
Well, the reason I don't think it yet is because I would prefer games 1, 2, 6, and 7 of an NLCS not be in L.A.
Oh, and
I prefer they be here. So to me, I know people are like, well, they're in the postseason. I've never bought that. Yeah, just get in. It's all. And even though people will point to the last wild card team has made the postseason since the expanded format both years
in the National League.
In the National
League. 3 of the 4 teams that have made the World Series have been out of that wild card round.
Not the last spot, but they've been a wild card team.
Right.
But to me, I still want every advantage this Phillies team can have, and that's why I want to say beat the Braves. That's why I want to say beat the Dodgers. That's why I want to I don't want to just be like, yeah, you're so far up, you're in. Just play it out. Because I also think if you take that mentality, I don't know that you'll be playing your best when it matters the most.
And that's fair. I think the fair point in that is you want to make sure that you're playing your best at the end of September. Okay? And I think the one thing that the Phillies schedule allows, you and I were talking about this in the back a little bit, the Phillies schedule at the end of September. Everybody talked about what it was like between March, when the Braves left town the first time, all the way through maybe they went to London.
Right.
As weak and soft and everything. After September 1st,
it gets weak
again. So they're going to be able to build momentum. That's why I'm not going to sweat out, oh, my God, it's an 8-game lead. No, they're fine. I mean, look, every team in Phillies history that has had this type of a lead in July in the division era, obviously 64 is a whole different kettle of fish, has found a way to hold on. 93, they were up 10. You go to 08 and 09, they were struggling until this time of the year. In 10 and 11, they were able to pull away.
See, the thing is, though, and I know history, to me that means nothing. Because those teams have nothing to do with this.
No, but it shows the rhythms of the sport.
I get you. And I refuse to get, I just can't. I was seeing some people with the angst over the Braves series. And believe me, losing to the Braves means more to me than it does to the majority of this fan base. And all you got to do is go to my social media timelines and see half of a metro area giving me crap about it.
And John,
I love it.
It was much more important for the Braves this series.
It was mission critical.
Brian Snitker, who a couple weeks ago came out with we're going to go win the East. We're trying to win the East comment.
Yeah, he said we're not conceding anything. Right.
But they knew how critical it was, and they played like a team. Look, their bats are getting a little warm. They're going to be tough in October because they're going to make moves here. But am I worried about them losing the division right now? No,
I'm not either. And so, are you in any way concerned about Ranger Suarez? And you had some numbers this morning that tell you, yeah, you can at least have more. I have mild concern about Ranger Suarez.
Right.
And congratulations to Ranger. We'll talk about the All-Star berth coming up. But for this discussion, Rangers' numbers are pretty troubling.
Yeah, since he got hit in the hand on June 1st, remember the Saturday night game and everything?
We were there.
Right. 6 games started. He's 1-2. Team is 3-3. Okay? 34 innings pitched. 4 home runs allowed, a 4.50 ERA, batting average is 3.08, slugging OPS is 845.
Okay, so he's been the worst starter in their rotation.
Not named
over that time.
Well, yeah,
not named Taijuan
Walker.
Correct.
Right. I mean, so he has struggled, and is this maybe altering his delivery? He's missing just by a little bit. Now, like the Ozuna home run the other night.
That was a great pitch.
That's a great pitch.
It's a great pitch. If you're worried about that.
But am I worried about – I'm more worried about the back-to-back doubles to start the game.
Sure.
That allow Atlanta to score its first run. I'm worried about, kind of the way he looked gassed after 5 innings. John, my hunch is he's been named to the All-Star game. My hunch is he doesn't pitch down there. I think he'll become one of them guys that there'll be the old managerial request thing of Torey Lovello from Rob Thompson going, hey, if you could stay away from him, stay away from him.
Problem is, though, is that you also have Zach Wheeler,
right,
who's going to be at the All-Star game. And you're going to tell.
But they will replace.
You're going to tell Zach Wheeler, right? They'll replace him with somebody.
Right. If you pitch on Sunday, you automatically get replaced on the roster. So would it surprise me if Aaron Nola ends up being the one who replaces him at this point? No, it wouldn't. So at this point, I think Suarez will be hey, go to Texas, have fun, stay away from him because they can then basically sit him after Friday night for 10 days.
And give him a rest. Yeah, I mean...
and by the way, that sets Wheeler up. He could technically pitch the first game back after the break.
The one thing I'm a little concerned about is the idea of being gassed for Ranger. We've never seen him put a full season together.
Well, yeah, and he's never... Usually it's the slow start at the beginning.
Correct. We saw it a few years ago where Rob Thompson and the organization made a spectacular decision to shut down Zach Wheeler for a couple weeks and allow him to get refreshed when a playoff berth was not secured in 22.
No.
And they decided...
Well, he also had a dead arm period at that point,
yes.
too. So that was part of it. Look, I think the one thing with the starters, and I saw actually from Todd Zalecki and Matt Gelb this weekend that the Phillies are openly talking about going to a 6-man rotation in August to help back their starters to cut back. Now, obviously, that's when Walker comes back, and they're talking Walker could be back after the All-Star break.
Do you not like that? I know Zach Wheeler doesn't like it. He has vocalized that he does not want it.
But their schedule is so compressed. I think they have 28 games in 30 days or something like that. So they're going to have to back off a little bit here. Or backing off could be also your starter goes 5 innings, no matter what. Because their bullpen is well rested. I mean, their bullpen is still one of the fewest, bullpen that's had the fewest innings in the majors. So, I think they're going to back off a little bit, and that's fine. It's, again, preserve. August will be gearing down, and then September will be the ramp back up before October.
Brendan Gunn, did we make you feel a little better this morning after that bad Atlanta weekend?
Yeah, I mean, I was never too concerned about the Phils after this. They've given me enough this season to not overreact to any series they go out there and lose 2 out of 3. It's fine. They're staying above water, and guess what? We're still 8 games above the Braves in the division. Like Kev said, we just needed to go down there and win 1 game. Unfortunately, it was the first game, so you had a little bit of shift in expectations. You kind of wanted them to win the series after that. As far as Ranger goes, I'm not concerned. I think he needs this All-Star break. It's coming at the perfect time. He's a pitcher that pitches to contact, and sometimes in July, in that hitting season, that contact's going to lead to doubles and home runs. It's just the way it is.
And you mentioned about pitching to contact. His batting average with balls in play, which is sometimes a luck indicator, okay, but going into June 1st, or if you include the 2 innings in June 1st, that batting average of balls in play was like 245. Now it's like 367. So,
and I do believe that is something that shifts. That is a stat that can shift in a matter of 2 weeks. You know, it's on the. I don't want to say luck. I always hate luck when people talk about luck. It's one of my least favorite words in the English language, because I think a lot of people take other people's skill and other people's hard work and say, boy, aren't they lucky? And I'm like, bull crap, they're not lucky. They work their backsides off, or they work for their skill. But in baseball, it is, with bat hitting ball and getting bats to miss balls, there is a lot of luck involved.
It depends also what kind of ballpark you're playing in. You know, if you're playing on one if you're playing at Coors Field, then there's those wide open gaps in the middle. You can technically get guys to hit it where you want to, and it just falls in. I mean, so yeah, they're fine. He's going to be fine. He'll get through this little period here. I don't think that's a problem. You know, we're going to get into the other issues. I do think there's going to be. I did talk to a scout over the weekend, John, and I asked him, well, what do you think the Phillies need? He goes, nothing. They're fine.
That's what a lot of people do believe. I want to ask you this. If you have a valid concern about this Phillies team, and you think it's a valid concern that sort of carries over past this weekend, and that it includes after Schwarber, Harbor, Real Muto are back, I'd love to hear from you at 610-632-0975. You can call in or you can text in. And we're not going to poo-poo it, but we're going to debate it. If you think you have a valid concern about this team, the three of us seem very content at 58-32. No alarm, no concerns. Last week before the All-Star game. But if you believe you can identify a valid concern, I would love to hear it at 610-632-0975, as we are 21 days tomorrow from the trade deadline, September 30th. So if you've got
July
one of those...
30th. July 30th.
July 30th, excuse me. Yes, 610. Yeah, I want to get to September 30th.
Don't rush to September, please, as a teacher.
I love the summer. Yeah, I don't want to get rid of the summer, and you're a teacher. I don't want to have to do that. 610-632-0975. You want to share your thoughts there. Continuing, though, I've been off for a little while, and all weekend long, the 76ers flooded my inbox with the official notices of a lot of the things that we already knew were going to happen. But I'm going to tell you this. Today, I believe Daryl Morey delivered more than I expected with his blank slate and his money to spend than I thought he would. Yeah. I mean, I don't believe that Paul George means pencil them into the Eastern Conference Finals and they're going to win an NBA title. But I'm a hell of a lot more enthused about Sixers basketball than I was 10 days ago.
And I could see that. I mean, look, Caleb Martin, Paul George, Andre Drummond coming off the bench, Eric Gordon being an upgrade, I think.
Oh, I think
from Buddy Hield. Yeah, they are better set up. John, I viewed the offseason coming into it as, okay, the Sixers were in that mushy middle in the East, as far as you have Boston and New York, who were at the top, and you put them with Cleveland and Indiana.
Are you saying like 3 to 7?
Yeah. I would say
Orlando, Cleveland, Indiana, pretty much all in there.
And the Sixers would have been,
exactly.
Yeah. So at that point, I would have put them in that mix. Now I'm putting them New York and Boston have separated themselves from that next level because of the fact that the Sixers have addressed a lot of. They're also better defensively.
Oh, they're distinctly better defensively.
I think everybody thinks back to the New York series. They were awful defensively in the New York series. They just allowed a team that's not a great scoring team to get shots whenever they wanted to. And I think this time around, Daryl Morey learned his lesson. And he actually surrounded Embiid and Maxey with pieces that fit together. And it's not just go get a star.
I like how you said allowed. Because they allowed. Yeah. They allowed the Knicks. They didn't. I mean, to me, there was a matter of effort there. There was a matter of what for and want for, or
lack of depth.
A lack of depth.
Lack of depth.
You were tired.
Yeah, they were tired. Hield wasn't what they thought he would be.
I'm still absolutely fascinated as to how that happened. I thought he'd come in here. I was fooled by Buddy Hield. I thought he was going to
Why?
come in because I thought he was going to come in here, and I thought he was going to be draining threes.
What has Buddy Hield ever done in the NBA?
Well, he's been one of the better three-point shooters in the NBA.
Okay, great. What is he
and
ever,
I thought
what
he was
has he
going to
ever,
come in.
when has he ever been on a team that's had any kind of expectations?
I don't look at it that way. It's not his fault what teams he's on.
But I think sometimes when you get into situations where a team has expectations, you change. And he tightened up.
Oh, he tightened up. He didn't even want to shoot in a few of those games. I mean, it seemed he wanted anything but the ball in his hands.
I've watched Buddy Hield now like 10 times in my life in person. And all 10 times I've gone, wow, that was really disappointing, including one in Houston there, Brendan. Against Nova.
That was a good day for me.
I know it was.
Oh, jeez.
I got to get him started.
No, please don't. Don't. So 610-632-0975. I'd love to hear a valid concern about the Phillies. If you've got one, you think you can make the case either on the phone or on the text line, we'd love to hear from you. Question is this. Kevin was reading a piece of analysis regarding the Philadelphia Eagles. Is it possible that this Eagle can be both overrated and underrated? To me, this seems like a bunch of hogwash. But wait till you hear the name. You may agree. John Kincade, Kevin Cooney in for Andrew Salciunas. It's Kincade and Salciunas here on The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Phillies add 4 more to the All-Star roster.
the 6 o'clock
6 a.m.
hour
sponsor for Kincade and Salciunas is Bradford White Water Heaters. Bradford White is here for the pro.
I know they have a sponsor, which is great. What's up, Brendan? How you doing, brother?
Long holiday weekend.
I heard that I believe Salciunas has feet on American soil. And so we'll have a chance to catch up with Andrew tomorrow morning as he returns.
Yeah, and Andrews tweeted out last night about how bad the flight was with Coop on the way home from Germany. So
I can only tell you that flying is miserable right now.
that's why I'm not flying to Florida.
Just we came back from Las Vegas last Sunday night, draft weekend. We flew back. We took off from Las Vegas at 11:40 in the morning. Landed at Philadelphia International Airport at 7:28. Got off the plane at 10:35. The people who waited for their bags got their bags at 1:07 a.m. We had carried on, thank God. I got 15,000 miles sent to me in the email. 15,000, which doesn't get you anything.
No.
I don't think it even buys you peanuts if you were allowed to have peanuts on a flight. But, of course, you can't have peanuts on a flight anymore. For God's sakes. They obviously had a pretzel allergy on our flight, too, because they didn't have pretzels either. They just had those horrible cookies that people like. What are they called? The Biscoffs or whatever? I'm telling you. Hey, here's good news for you. Want to smile? 60 days to the Eagles opener.
Started that 1-3 campaign there.
Please. Don't start with, I can't have it. I can't have the negativity. No way are they starting 1-3. And I'll bet you anything.
All right.
That they do not start 1-3.
You got
so you got to come up with a bet.
I will.
Nice logical bet.
Mm-hmm.
We'll come up with one.
Dinner.
And I will.
I'll take
dinner's fine.
Yeah.
Dinner's fine.
We'll do dinner.
Absolutely, it'll be fine. You will be buying. There is zero chance they start 1-3. Zero chance.
You have
not,
you have way too much faith in this team.
I do. Well, how about this? I have faith in the team, and then I've got Tampa Bay, New Orleans, Atlanta, the worst division in football.
Okay.
And so 3 games against the worst division in football.
Okay, at a time at a time when you're going to have 2 new coordinators.
That's fine.
You have a lame duck head coach.
That's fine. Atlanta's going to have the same thing. So there's one right there, so I'm not worried about
Atlanta doesn't have a lame duck head coach.
No, they got a new head coach, new coordinators.
No, but it's not lame duck. I mean,
no, but new head coordinators, new coach. And we don't know that he's a lame duck. We know he's a lame duck. He's got 2 years left in his contract.
Well, you're going to have to know by the end of the year if you're keeping.
Oh, well, you would. That's way too negative on the Eagles. There is zero reason the Eagles will be favored in every game.
They can be favored all they want. They're not favored. They're not favored against Green Bay.
Yeah, they are.
They're a pick 'em right now.
Not when I looked yesterday.
They're a pick 'em right now. We actually looked it up yesterday.
When I looked on mine, it was 1.5 the other day.
No, Ray and I looked.
Side.
Ray and I looked it up. It's a pick 'em.
I will take the Eagles.
I'll take Green Bay.
Why?
I think that Jordan Love and Matt LaFleur are going to be on a little higher level of preparation and cohesion than Jalen Hurts and Kellen Moore.
Okay, so you like the Green Bay offense better than the Eagles offense? Really?
Yeah.
You'll take the Eagles. You'll take Green Bay's offense
at the beginning of the year. At the
Eagles
timing of everything.
Okay.
At the beginning of the year, I'm going to take Green Bay's offense.
And Matt LaFleur and Jordan
Matt LaFleur
Love.
is a far superior coach than Nick Sirianni.
I knew Matt LaFleur when he was the quarterback's coach in Atlanta. I've watched him all the way that he is. I think, by the way, he's an insufferable human being. That's a whole nother thing altogether.
He wouldn't be the first in the NFL.
He's from the Shanahan tree.
Yes, he is.
The Shanahan tree of arrogance that just is absolutely puts out poison fruit. But I have no concern. Well, first off, there's no reason to be concerned about seeing that there's going to be an Eagles team prepared for the opener. You've seen no problems with that at all under Nick Sirianni.
Except one, it's a different type of opener because you're traveling 13,000 miles.
So are they. So that's a wash.
Okay. 2, you're talking about a team that is trying to get over the biggest collapse in franchise history.
It is one of the biggest in NFL history.
And the realization that the minute you start on a slide, if you start on a slide in Brazil, okay, let's say they lose in Brazil, I think there's a trickle-down effect. I really do. I think a lot of that bad karma comes right back with this team. John, I'll even go so far. The week 5 bye is a blessing for them because it may mean a change of head coach if they go 1-3.
I can't I swear I cannot. I will.
Atlanta's the only game I'm giving them as a
We
win.
will revisit that. I absolutely couldn't disagree more. Like more be absolutely diametrically opposed to that.
Top Bowls freaks them out. One. Let's be real. I mean, he's going to blitz the hell out of Hurts, and I don't know how Hurts is going to pick it up. And going to New
Top
Orleans
Bowls didn't freak them out in the regular season.
Yeah.
They went down there and dominated them in the regular season.
And the other
Dominated them. Pushed them around in their own building.
And
he didn't scare them. The Buccaneers weren't even in that game.
That offense didn't really click that well in that game.
No, it didn't. But they still dominated the game. They dominated.
Look, we disagree on this.
Absolutely.
I think
there's much more data though backing up my side.
I think they are more likely to crest at the end of the year. I think they will get better at the end of the year.
Be.
But I think early on they're going to struggle.
Well, how do you think Howie Roseman has done as far as a general manager here? Everybody keeps talking about it as far as building this team, and I teased it for you, that you were reading a piece by Bill Barnwell.
Yeah, Bill Barnwell wrote something on ESPN. By the way, it's like a 2,500-word college term paper.
See, I love a Barnwell piece. I enjoy some of the deep dive pieces, but I'm a dork.
Right, and he talked about the fact is Howie Roseman overrated or underrated as a general manager. And his conclusion, basically, and I'll save you the fee for ESPN Plus, is a little bit of both.
Okay, wait a minute. So he writes a piece. Is Howie Roseman overrated or underrated? And the response is yes. Isn't that counter to you're a writer?
The most accurate. Let me read this paragraph.
Okay.
The most accurate thing to say about Roseman is a good general manager with spectacular high peaks and low valleys. While I undeniably learned from whatever mistakes and disappointment have occurred during this tenure, the same Roseman who came within a holding penalty of winning 2 Super Bowls in 5 years is the one who was been quasi-fired once and nearly fired a second time. Which is totally accurate. I do think that we trip over ourselves about Howie.
Okay, well, it depends. You can't. That's a broad brush. What is Is it tripping over yourself to say he is one of the best general managers in football?
He's top 10, yeah.
What, top 10?
Top 10.
Really?
Yeah.
Who are the if you said to me top 6, I'm going, okay. Top 10?
I would say top 10. Just that because
I don't think that there are 9. I don't think that there. How about this? I think there are franchises in 10. I think that there are franchises in the NFL that would fire their GMs if Howie was available at the end of the year.
And that's
to hire
possible
him in the top 10.
But one, I like organizations. Say what you want about John Lynch, and I know John Lynch made an awful deal for his what he thought was his. But that team is like this. They are consistent. They are at the top level all the time. Howie's ups and downs are so drastic that it gets you a little seasick. And that's kind of where I'm like, okay, the roster construction last year was not great. It wasn't.
No, it wasn't. But I think the hiring of the coordinators wasn't.
But
that was terrible.
But
that was Howie.
Yeah.
I give it to Howie.
I think it's the ability to manage people. I don't think he does a great job with that. As far as the way he handles his coaches, the way he handles everything else, within the organization structure, I don't think he knows how to handle that properly, and to create a situation which promotes consistency. And I think that's one of the main problems the Eagles have had over the stretch. Look, they've been successful. They got a Super Bowl. I can't deny that. I'm not going to say he's awful, but I do think we kind of trip over ourselves sometimes to. Wow, isn't he awesome? Isn't he great?
Well, that's a brush. Like I don't do that, so I don't like.
No,
I can't answer.
But I'm saying others
do that.
Right.
I can't answer
as a
to
city.
that.
I think we tend to.
I don't believe so at all.
I do. I think in the media in this town, absolutely.
Wow, I don't believe that at all. I think Howie's one bad move always from being the headline of getting ripped about something that he's done. If you're talking about contracts, no. He's brilliant.
He's great with contracts.
He's the best.
His drafts are awful.
The great Chris Mortensen, last time he appeared on this radio show, said something that was just perfect, and then Adam, backed it up. If Howie was ever unemployed, he'd be unemployed for 5 minutes.
And that's
He literally is respected that much across his industry as to what he
Mike
does.
Lombardi got jobs, multiple jobs.
Don't
after,
even explain that to me.
But I mean, so
I can't
yeah,
explain
I don't
that.
know if that's
That's. Did you mention Mike Lombardi and Howie Roseman in the same damn sentence?
But as far as people getting
That's terrible.
But people getting multiple jobs.
That's slander. In fact, I think you could be sued for that.
But people getting multiple jobs.
No.
In this league, it's not uncommon. That's not the barometer I'm using.
The barometer is the fact that the guy's had his tenure, that the tenure has been extremely successful. He's been extremely successful. And there's nobody better at managing a cap and capology and all that stuff than Howie. There's nobody. But he's always had a great support team that has done it too. They have got a formula going that is honestly, no one's been able to copy it. Part of it is Jeffrey Lurie opening up his wallet and being willing to spend money.
I give the owner more credit.
Huge credit. Huge credit. That flexibility comes under Jeffrey Lurie, which is big, but also comes under the stability that Jeffrey Lurie hasn't listened to talk radio, that he hasn't listened to message boards and Twitter and gotten rid of Howie when people wanted him gone in 2020.
Again,
people wanted to.
It's not like I'm saying Howie should get fired. I'm saying Howie. I just prefer a little more consistent. And now
I got you.
Like,
no, I understand. I don't think what you're saying is like completely invalid or anything.
No,
not at all.
I think the consistency factor is the one thing that's keeping Howie Roseman from being at that level that some people in this town put him at.
Okay. Would you have ever replaced him along the way? Would you have?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you would have.
Oh, I would have fired him with Doug Peterson. If I was firing Doug Peterson, I had to fire Howie at that point. Truth be told, and I was wrong on it.
What I always say is I would not let Howie hire another head coach. That's where I'm at. If he hires another
it's going to happen.
If he hires another head coach, it's absolutely unprecedented.
Week 5.
For a general manager thing. I can't your negativity towards this Eagles team is borderline like sociopath to me. I can't believe it because it's so far. It's so far. If you told me
the last impression,
you have doubts about the Eagles, I get it. Like I totally get it.
The last impression I was left with was this team falling apart.
It was terrible.
And their best defensive player's gone.
Yes. And or maybe one of the biggest problems in the locker room.
It might have been.
You think? You think the Jets are finding that out?
I get it, but at this point in my mind, I'm going to go in. I'd rather be pleasantly surprised than disappointed.
If you want to share a thought, you can at 610-632-0975. I think Kevin needs to be putting a home for this pick.
They're not the only one.
0-4 or 1-3. Phillies made history with an epic All-Star game election and selections. We'll get to that next. It's Kincade Salciunas, Kevin Cooney in for Andrew here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Kincade and Salciunas.
97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5.
in Atlanta. But they wake up today even knowing that Fanatic Mondays are presented by Pierce Phelps Bryant Heating and Air Conditioning Contractors. You can visit nopaybryant.com for flexible spending options on a new heating and cooling system. Nobody's overheating in Phillies land. No over panic. You lost a series to the Braves. The only thing that bothers me again is that you've played the Braves 6 games, and in 4 of them you've gotten your absolute backsides kicked, and you haven't even been competitive. It's the only thing that bothers me about the whole thing, but as Kevin was pointing out earlier, they're 2 distinctly different series, and there's a different storyline to each.
Yeah, there's a different storyline. First weekend, it's, hey, the Braves are coming in for revenge after getting beat in the playoffs, and then this weekend, it's no Schwarber, no Harper, no real Muto. So we'll see. I mean, ultimately, look, when we get to October, the Braves are the ones who are going to have to prove that they could still do this in the big spots, and I don't know if that's going to happen.
I know that they are in their heads. Oh. I know within that organization how much the Phillies are in their heads. Does that mean that the Phillies are guaranteed, if they play the Braves in October, to beat them? No, it doesn't. But it is a major hurdle, other than the Phillies roster, that the Braves have to get over.
I hate the fact that most likely they would have to meet in a 5-game series. I want a 7. I want a full experience series and not a best of 5.
Well, if you let the the Dodgers pass you for the top seed, then you won't have them in the 5 game.
Well, not necessarily.
Yeah, most likely you'd have them only if you were the 1.
Yeah.
So if you want to be the 2, and the Dodgers may help determine that this week.
And to be honest, the Dodgers are a team that has as bad a playoff history right now as actually worse than the Braves.
They do. Hey, Phillies sent 7 to the All-Star game. We knew that Turner, Harper, and gosh, why am I drawing a blank? We knew that Turner, Harper, and Bohm were going. And then now we know that Wheeler's going and Suarez is going, but we don't know if either one of them will pitch.
Right.
Wheeler
won't.
I was shocked by Suarez.
I'm not. I think a lot of people gave him for what he did the first 2.5 months of the season. He was going to get on. It's not a real deep National League with starting pitching. It isn't.
Bill Colarulo the other day was talking about the fact he thought that the Phillies could get 3 starters in the game, and I responded to him, and I went, there ain't any chance they're getting 3 starters in the game. I did not think Ranger was going to the All-Star game, though, Brendan. I did not expect him to be going.
Ranger? Really?
No, I really didn't. Not after the way it ended, because I know the voting going in, the selecting process. I worry about the recency bias of the last 3 weeks.
I can understand that, but even still, I think he fell to what, the fifth highest in ERA in the entire major league.
ERA.
Yeah, that's what.
What's the ERA? 750 though over his last 3 starts.
774 over his last 3 starts.
But you can't keep him out. By that same metric, you'd have to keep Matt Strahm out, who's been leaking oil recently.
Well, he is leaking oil.
He is, and there's no debate about that. But he had that 30-something innings in a row, 37 outings in a row without him allowing a run.
I will say, if Sanchez had not gotten lit up the way he was on the 4th of July, he would have probably went.
I could have seen Sanchez going ahead of Suarez. I thought that's the way it was trending.
Yeah, I mean, he won pitcher of the month
and everything. I thought it was trending towards Sanchez.
Ranger's been the second pick for Cy Young for most of the year, so I would have been very surprised if they had left Sanchez off.
Did Strahm surprise you?
Strahm surprised me, but I was going back and forth with Kevin yesterday. I thought he deserved it. I thought he deserved it, but like you just brought up with Ranger, I thought the recency bias was going to keep him out.
What about Hoffman?
I'm fine with.
No, I'm fine with them. Them both, I think it's deserving. Were you surprised? Did you think Hoffman and Strahm were going?
They had the way this bullpen has pitched for the majority of the season, and those 2 have been your most reliable pieces. Yeah, I thought both of them had a good shot.
I thought they were only getting 1.
What does it tell you? They got 4 pitchers in, 3 regulars in. Trey Turner, I don't want to say by name, but he did miss some time, and he's on the best team in baseball, so that probably contributed to it.
But does that tell you fantastic?
Does it tell you the story of the first season has been the pitching staff over the regular hitters?
I think it really
has.
The
lineup.
Right. I think it has.
Because you get 2 relief pitchers and 2 starters in the All-Star game. That kind of tells you.
And again, that
pitching has gotten you.
That number is going to expand. They're going to technically get an 8th. I assume when Wheeler drops off, that they will have Nola probably be the guy who goes as well.
We got anybody texting in on a valid concern? Because, look, I don't want to just say you shouldn't have any worries. The Phillies are in. It's all over. There can be some valid concerns.
Yeah, we got Charles in Chester checking in, and he said, first-time texter, by the way.
Thanks,
says
Charles.
the only concern he has right now would be maybe a right-handed pop bat in the outfield. That's what you need to solidify the offense. You don't have Rhys Hoskins anymore to have pop on the right side. They kind of need that. Alec Boehm gets it done a little bit with the doubles and all
But
that, the
not the
RBIs, but
pop.
not the pop.
Do you think they need one or two outfielders?
I think they'll go one. I don't.
Because this is a really good roster.
It's a really good roster, and
When healthy, we're talking about healthy.
I just think at this point they'll make one big trade. It's not going to be for Luis Robert. They're not going to that level, but I think they'll.
You say that with great confidence. You're going to disappoint a lot of people.
They're not getting Luis Robert. They're not. They're not going to trade Aiden Miller, and they're not going to trade
Andrew Painter. Yes.
Or Crawford, for that matter.
I don't want either of the three of them to go. So any one of the three of them to go.
I would be okay like me personally, and we've talked about this on the weekends. Aiden Miller, because I don't know if you have a position for him going forward.
I'll wait and find that out, though, because his stock is only continuing to rise.
But Luis Roberts also never played in anything that's had any significance and he's always hurt. So I'm not trading Aiden Miller for that.
No, I'm not.
I wouldn't give him Miller up. I would think about Crawford just by the nature of.
I would not.
You get Robert in here. Then
I find Crawford more protectable in a sense because
you have spots for him.
Plus, they're weak in the outfield.
Right
Crawford
now. But when's he going to be ready to come up? 3 years?
No, he's
probably 2 years.
20 years old.
He's targeted back 2025. Back 2025, 2026 season arrived.
I just have like PTSD with these prospects. Like
but
so many times they don't work out, and just by sheer numbers,
I'm
probably two out of the three names you just listed. They're not gonna work out anyway.
I don't want either of the three of them, any one of them, to be gone in a trade. Nope.
Well,
no, I don't
think they're going to make a major move. I don't.
That may disappoint people.
It might,
yeah.
but it's kind of tough to go against Dave Dombrowski right now.
Oh, I love him. You're 60 days to the Eagles opener. 60 days away. But we're 16 days till the first practice. So I got a little roster exercise I want to do with you. So the boys are going to join me with it. How deep is this team? Your Eagles Sweet 16 coming up, and you can play along at home. John Kincade in. Andrew Salciunas is in for... Kevin Cooney's in for Andrew Salciunas here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Phillies send 4 more to the All-Star.
morning. It is a Monday on the Fanatic presented by Pierce Phelps Bryant. Heating and air conditioning contractors. Visit nopaybryant.com for flexible spending options on a new heating and cooling system. He is not Andrew Salciunas. He's Kevin Cooney.
Or Peter Griffin, as somebody in the chat called me.
Love Peter Griffin. Love it. My wife does not like that. My daughter, likes Family Guy. She likes South Park. She likes all the shows that my wife considers.
It was funny. When you guys were going back and forth about the Eagles, it was kind of Peter Griffin versus the chicken. That's what it was, back and forth.
There we go. It's on this Monday morning, though, and I put a smile on your face, hopefully, after a crappy weekend for the Phillies in Atlanta. But obviously, there was not concern from us. There were some concerns from others. But I'd love to hear you play along with this game with us. It's 16 days to the first Eagles practice. And so what I came up with, of course, was the idea of if you looked at the Eagles roster and you said, who are the Sweet 16? If the NFL today issued a proclamation and said, we're having an expansion draft, we're adding 2 franchises.
Which means they'll make more money.
Oh, exactly. They'll make a killing on it.
And then they'll play every day of the week.
We're going to add 2 more franchises, and every NFL team must today protect 16 players from an expansion draft. So you have 16 players currently on the roster that you are allowed to protect before this draft goes down at noon today. So I threw this at Kevin, and I threw this at Brendan, and I said, let's go through how many of the 16 are the same for us so we can get that part out of the way. The question is, if I said to you, Kevin Cooney, not knowing my list, not knowing Brendan's list, if you looked at the Eagles roster, how many of the Sweet 16 protected players do you think we are going to all match on? The 3 of us are going to have, every one of us are going to have this name on their list.
12.
You're going 12. I'm going 11. That was my guess in my head.
I'll
Brendan?
go 13.
So you're going 13. Wow.
I'll go 13
Okay.
because just based on I got to the early 10s kind of easily, and then the last couple, that's where I ran into a brick wall.
Where did you think when you went through the process the first time? I only struggled when I got to 14 as to who's in, who's out.
13.
So you were at 13. I was at 14. Brandon,
I got to 12 on my list, and then
you were like
13, 14, 15, 16 were kind of like, I don't want to say pulling teeth because they're good players, but I don't know how a lot of them are valuable for tangible things.
Right.
A lot of them are potential.
Right.
10 or 12 were like solidified they would get drafted.
Okay, well, here are the names that I think I'm going to throw out a name that I think will match every one of our lists. Okay? So when I hit them, they will be ones that we don't have to debate, we don't have to argue otherwise. Jalen Hurts.
Yep.
A.J. Brown.
Yep.
Devontae Smith.
Yes.
Oh, good.
100%. Yeah.
Okay. Wait a minute.
I just don't think people.
Cooney.
I don't think people want to hear me go. Yep.
Kevin Cooney.
13 times.
Wait a minute. Kevin Cooney was giving me a coronary there.
No.
I was thinking, did we get to Devontae Smith?
I'm not used to being up this early in the morning in the summer. So.
What about in class? What time's your first class start?
7:15.
Oh, okay. You got time to work. You got 10 minutes before you have to be.
I wake up about 8:30.
Okay.
Anyway.
There you go. How about Saquon Barkley?
Yep.
We're all in agreement, correct? Do we all have Jordan Mailata?
Yes.
I do, yes.
Do we all have Lane Johnson?
Yes.
Okay. This is getting good because I wanted to be able to get past some of these. Do we all have Dallas Goedert?
I do.
I do, but he was one of those like you kind of went back. I went back on.
Okay, so I have Dallas Goedert, but he's somebody who appears on everybody's list. Do we all have Jalen Carter?
I do.
I do.
I do. Do we all have Darius Slay?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, this is good because this is what I was hoping for, that we'd get it down to like 4 or 5 guys. Do we all have CJ GJ?
I have him on mine.
Yep.
All right, good. Well, then we're doing well here. This is rolling along well, and if you're playing along in your car. Now,
Don't play along in the car in a sense where you drive off a road.
Don't do that.
Yeah.
They may drive off the road. If they didn't drive off the road, you're 0-4 Eagles or 1-3 Eagles stars. Now we get to a couple that I want to ask about. Do we all have Jordan Davis? I do.
I put him on at the last second.
I do not.
You do not. Okay, so I'm going to leave Jordan Davis up for the discussion point. Do we all have Landon Dickerson?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So we can put Landon Dickerson and give him a check. Sorry, Landon, I forgot to mention you the first time. Landon does like to sometimes go out on the donut run and listen to the show in the morning.
Okay.
So I don't want him to be pissed if he heard that. I'm questioning this one, whether he will appear on both of your lists, because it tells me about roster construction. Jake Elliott.
Yes.
He is on my list.
All right, so we all went Jake Elliott. See, I thought that was going to be one that we'd maybe debate.
See, I went out with him sure thing because
I did too.
he is a sure thing. Like when we got down to the 14, 15, 16, there weren't too many
who's the
sure
sure
things
thing?
anymore.
Okay, so we have we're going to have a Jordan Davis discussion point coming up, which I think is a good one. I'm going to ask you too. Because these are some of the guys on my list that I want to see if they show up on yours. Do you have Josh Sweat?
No.
No.
You guys do not, and I do. It's
Okay.
interesting. This is for this year, remember. You're protecting
Yeah,
for
I
this
get
year.
it.
Yep.
Do you have Bryce Huff?
No.
He was the last one on my list, just based on potential.
He was the last one on my list, too. So these are some good names. Do you have Quinyon Mitchell?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so we all have Quinyon Mitchell. All right, so we got it down to where we have 13, Brandon Gunn, are the same.
There you go.
You had it right. But we do not have the same. And once again, I'll run it right through you so that way it doesn't give you a headache. Hurts, Brown, Devontae Smith, Barkley, and Goddard. Johnson, Mailata, Dickerson, Elliott, and then on the defensive side, Carter, Slay, Gardner Johnson, and Mitchell. We agreed on 4 players on the defensive side. We agreed on 8 players on the offensive side.
Yeah.
Now, so Davis, Huff, and Sweat were 3 of the names that I brought up for debate. Give me a name that didn't come up that we have to debate.
EG.
What?
Brandon Graham.
You wouldn't. Now, let me ask you this about Brandon Graham. You wouldn't expose Brandon Graham to an expansion draft?
No, I think you need his leadership in this locker room, especially right now when there's so much turmoil going on. You need some veteran presence. You have Lane Johnson in there, but he's kind of soft-spoken. I don't know what he does in the locker room, but as far as being a vocal leader that everybody in the fan base knows, that's kind of Brandon Graham at this point in time, and I'll take him over Josh Sweat at this point for what he means to the Eagles.
Now, you've heard this from me before, Brendan, but Kevin and I have not discussed it. I honestly don't want to hear much about veteran leadership in the locker room when I saw a debacle like last year. Because those veterans,
you and I have talked about this too when we were in here on New Year's Day. We talked about it.
I don't want to hear about veteran leadership when this team has collapsed that way, because it meant nothing.
See, I'm going with 2 of my 3. I'm going the opposite way.
Okay,
I'm going Cooper DeJean.
all right.
Okay, I'm going Sidney Brown when he comes back because I think he could really benefit in your defensive backfield. I'll go Milton Williams. Like, to me, I think he has the best upside of that bunch along the D line.
Okay, so you have Williams, and get into this a little bit because it is something I know our own Bill Colarulo is all Milton Williams stuff. He says he believes, he has written about, been on the shows talking about it, that he believes Milton Williams is really ready for that season. I think if you pay attention casually, you haven't even seen Milton Williams.
No, but I do think that there is enough of an upside still there, and he's young enough where he can fulfill it. Here's my problem with the 2 other names you mentioned, with Sweat and Huff. Okay? Sweat, I've seen him fall off the face of the planet too much. To me, I would have kept, I know we were talking about this earlier, I would have kept Reddick over Sweat. I would have done guess what, Hassan? You're going to play here one more year, and then you can go your merry way, but I'm keeping you over Josh Sweat.
Well, now we're seeseeing why you couldn't have done that. Because he's causing problems in a new locker room when he promised that he wouldn't.
I get it.
When he said he wouldn't, his word means nothing. And he's really disappointed me because I'm a huge fan, and he's a Temple guy, and I don't want to rip him, but his word means nothing.
But answer me a question.
Yes.
Who has a better shot at a Super Bowl? The Eagles? For
the
1 year?
Jets?
Or the Jets?
I think the Eagles did.
Yeah. So I think he would have been a little better behaved. He has nothing to lose at this point. If he, in his mind, he's going, okay, I got traded to a place I really didn't want to go anyway. And they're not going to win anything. So I think that's part of, he's going to try to get his
bag. And there's a precedent set in New York when the quarterback's not even showing up.
Yeah, exactly.
I think Howie knew he wasn't going to pay. He wasn't going to behave himself. I think he absolutely knew.
See,
it.
this is where I talk about this idea that we don't take this the wrong way. I think sometimes we trip over ourselves thinking, Howie's a, look,
I didn't say it's not a genius. If you know somebody is going to be a jerk and is not going to handle themselves like a professional when they're under contract, and you don't want that around your team, especially coming off of last year's debacle. And by the way, I've said it before and I'll say it again. And I do not have factual. This is my connecting the dots.
Speculation.
I believe Fletcher Cox was speaking about him. I believe Fletcher Cox, when he's talking about guys chasing stats, going and doing their own thing,
they
freelancing.
Also put him in a pretty crappy situation, dropping him back in coverage.
They did it. They did it at times. They absolutely did. But I also believe that I'm going to believe that Fletcher Cox had a pretty good handle on that, of knowing what was going on in that locker room. I'm going to believe he had a pretty good handle, and that there was.
But in fairness, you are also discounting the veteran leadership that didn't stop.
Oh, no, I'm just saying his observation skills of knowing who was part of the problem. Without them speaking, I absolutely believe that's it. I'm not a question. Because what I've seen him do is go to New York and lie to their faces. He lied to them.
He's made it very difficult to defend them. I get that.
I mean, at his first press conference, he came out and said, well, I don't care how either way, I'm under contract. I'll be here. I'm just looking to work and everything. And it
probably would have been bad if he came out and said, I want my coin now.
He's done exactly the opposite. Do what you say, and then say it and then do it. And I don't believe you got that with Hassan Reddick.
I understand where you're coming from with this. I just, to me, I
got you.
Perfect world, I'm keeping Reddick over Sweat.
Okay, but if that's already water under the bridge,
right,
we're done with it.
I get it.
As this roster, though, you'd be willing to expose Sweat to an expansion draft?
Yeah.
Then who's rushing the passer if somebody takes him off your roster? You're competing this year.
Hence why I have a problem with everybody tripping over themselves saying how great this team is. So, they're going to win this division, but they're going to win this division because the division is awful.
So why would you want them to be worse? Your chances are considerably worse if you weaken a spot that I don't consider that strong.
No, it's not strong.
So, but if you take the best option you got.
But I think if I'm looking at this, I'm taking the guy who I think could have a big year and have that upside year,
right,
as opposed to the guy I've seen fall apart the last second half of both seasons.
610-632-0975. Whether you want to call us or text us. Now, we've went through the names again. I'll give you real quickly. Hurts, Brown, Devontae Smith, Barkley and Goddard and Johnson, Mailata, Dickerson, Elliott, Carter, Slay, Gardner Johnson, and Mitchell. Those are the guys we agreed on. We agreed on 13 of the Sweet 16 that the Eagles would protect. Now, the names that we've been debating for the last three spots include Jordan Davis, Josh Sweat, Huff, Graham, Cooper DeJean, Brown, and Williams. I'm going to ask you this right now because I want to take one of the names off this list. Do you agree with me? I'd expose Brandon Graham to an expansion draft tomorrow.
Yeah, I would, because he's at a point right now.
I would absolutely have no problem.
It's a 1 year deal with him.
He's on his
but
last
it's only
year.
for this year, right?
Well, that's it. But the thing is, it's his. But that's all the more reason to remember. You lose a guy, then I could see an expansion team bringing in Brandon Graham just to have him there the first year.
Well,
and then he retires.
But I was just going to say, I could see Brandon Graham the minute somebody else picks him up.
That means he's valuable in the locker room. If an expansion team is coming in and taking him for 1 year, he has some kind of value.
He may be, but the value was nowhere last year.
I mean, do I think he's going to go out there and get double-digit sacks again? No, but he's only 2 years removed from that. Like, he can still go out there and be productive.
And I'll admit that I'm playing with some of my picks. I'm playing the long game, and
you have to though. You're the general manager.
I'm playing with Sidney Brown. I'm obviously hoping he comes back healthy and at a full level.
See, I would expose Brown because I don't even see a spot for him to start right now. They're gonna run out Reed Blankenship,
but you're playing
and they're gonna
the long game.
I'm playing the long game.
And saying, like, I got to tell you, if it came down to Sidney Brown or Brandon Graham, it's Brandon Graham 100 out of 100
that gets cut.
That I'm leaving up for someone to grab. So
okay.
To Brandon Graham is now off of our discussion list with Air. I mean, I want to, like, and if you want to get involved in this, 610-632-0975, and you can text the show. As far as this, I'm going to ask you both. Jordan Davis, when we get down to the...
I'm biased. Because
what are you biased with? Tell me about it.
Kyle Hamilton. Kyle Hamilton should have been the pick.
Dude.
And I also saw Jordan Davis, again, kind of like the same way with Josh Sweat, completely disappear from Thanksgiving on.
It's as if, and I don't mean this as a slam to Jordan. It's as if the SEC title game, which is played right around
December 2nd.
Exactly. It's as if his conditioning ends at that point.
Bring Uncle Vernon.
Well, you've seen him this offseason. And the one thing is this. He was the 7th best productive player at his position last year in the NFL.
Is this Pro Football Focus?
So you don't believe that?
Look, I think Pro Football Focus finds a way to spin anything.
Why would they be spinning it in his favor?
Because
they have no reason to do that.
All right. Do you believe like Nate Silver is always right?
No.
Well, I don't believe Pro Football Focus is always right.
Then how do you know they're wrong on this one, though?
Because I watched every game with my eyes. I mean, I saw
but you didn't watch every game in the NFL in your eyes.
Well, I did have Sunday ticket.
No, but it's Sunday ticket also. You cannot watch the league and go.
By the way, since we have Sunday ticket, cha-ching!
Exactly. Eventually. You cannot watch. The thing is, Jordan Davis, again, he has been a top 8 player at his position in the NFL in both his first 2 years. Yet many label a bust.
Where's Kyle Hamilton in his position?
No. Don't get me.
But that's relevant because he's the guy who was drafted right after him.
I can tell you this. I watched Kyle from 8th grade.
I get it.
And at my daughter's high school. I watched Kyle. I begged for Kyle. We have video from draft night where when the Eagles traded, I said, there it is. They're getting Kyle Hamilton. I would have loved it. Kyle would have loved to have had you here. His mom is the one of just fantastic person, love his family. But I'm I got to get past that. This doesn't
I don't.
Davis is here. You're going to expose Jordan Davis would be picked so fast in an expansion draft.
Yeah, he's on my list, but just to play devil's advocate, I guess, does it concern you that, he might be top 7 in his position, but it's very much the first 2-3 months of the season, and then he falls apart and he drops down 2 years in a row.
There is anyone who spins to you that is not a valid concern, and anyone who tries to spin to you that, like, just forget about that, forget about it. That's a bunch of garbage.
Like, you see the potential.
It matters. But I truly do believe when you can play to a level where you're one of the better guys in the league, even if you don't believe Pro Football Focus, if you are one of the better top half of guys in the league at your position, and even if you're not, you don't believe he's top 7, you don't believe he's top 8, that I would never give up on Jordan Davis. In a million years, he gets one of the spots. To me.
I mean, that's fair. He's on my list, but he was one of those guys where
he's the first one off on my list.
He's the first one off
for me. Because I honestly just have this doubt he's ever going to get to that level where in January, and if they get to February, that he's going to make an impact. There's just now enough of a body of evidence that tells me after 2 years where he disappeared in December and January that I can trust him. I'm sorry. If I'm playing for Super Bowl,
I don't think anything you're saying is invalid. He's got to prove you wrong.
Right.
I mean, he's got to prove that anyone that has Kevin Cooney's doubts, he's got to prove you wrong because he's given you every
and could
evidence.
It turn into Brandon Graham, Earl Thomas again? Absolutely. It could. But right now, I
can't write him off just yet, though.
He's on my roster.
2 years so far.
He is on my roster.
I'm protecting him.
No way. I'm protecting him.
I do have to protect him just based on his potential. Like, if he goes out there and does it this year, then you are solidified at that position for hopefully 5, 6, 7, 10 years.
So, Kevin, if this was Hard Knocks, everybody would be talking on when the next episode came out going, man, Cooney was really arguing against Jordan Davis, but the other two pushed him through. They pushed him through in the argument. You were not. But he was your last one out.
He's my last one.
But he snuck in there. So we're going to do this exercise throughout the course of the show. And again, text us or call us at 610-632-0975. If you got an argument to make either way to try to sway that roster discussion. Phillies have some interesting roster decisions to make themselves. Kevin thinks he's got a good idea about what they're going to do. And there's a couple players that I think are just stealing money on this roster right now. John Kincade, along with Kevin Cooney in for Andrew Salciunas. It's Kincade and Salciunas here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
The Phillies at
presented by the BetParks app. Sportsbook and casino in one sleek, easy-to-use app. Download it today. BetParks.com.
His passport has been stamped. He's back. Even though my wife's pissed because as we've traveled internationally in the last couple years, they have not stamped our passport. Not
Really?
stamped our passport going to Punta Cana over in the Dominican Republic. Did not stamp our passport going to Canada.
I was just going to say, Canada is the only stamp I've gotten.
And you like the stamps in the passport. I like seeing the stamps.
Do you have like the luggage, like the stickers on the luggage,
No.
like 1961 or something?
We do not. We do not. In fact, we are, after the last luggage debacle, we have become like we pushed ourselves to carry on. We're doing our best to carry on and to not have to deal with luggage ever again, if possible.
I'm trying to avoid airports for the rest of my life, but that's a whole different.
You could do that.
Well, and actually, like I'm going to Disney on Friday with the wife.
Good.
Just the two
Just
of us.
the two of us?
We're taking the train down.
You're taking the train out.
We're doing the sleeper.
Are you bringing your car?
No.
No, you're not doing the auto train.
No.
Okay. Oh, that's fun.
Yeah.
I love Disney.
Plus, it covers your meals too.
See, it's good. Yeah. What do you do? Do a meal plan?
No, well,
you
the
do
meal
that?
plan at
On the
Disney,
train.
but on the train, your sleeper costs covers all your meals on
Really?
it. Like you get dinner, breakfast, and lunch.
Don't tell if my wife's listening right now, and I know she's not. We were out to anniversary dinner last night, so I'm sure she's sleeping. I'm glad she's not hearing that because she'll be like, "Let's not get on a plane. Let's take Amtrak down."
It'll take 22 hours, but
Well, that's a little different.
Yeah.
It's still there is some fun scenery though along the way.
Oh, yeah.
So. Look, the Phillies have some difficult roster decisions to make. Schwarber expected to be back tomorrow night. As of last night, I did have one text from someone that I think pretty much knows what they're talking about that says they expect to see Harper during the Dodgers series.
Mm-hmm.
And then Real Muto returns after the All-Star break. So, first of all, thoughts of, and I know it's something that our own Bill Colarulo was talking about last week. Thoughts on Harper coming back in order to play in the All-Star game? Do you believe it's in order to play in the All-Star game?
no, I think it's because the Dodgers are in town this week if he gets back. I mean, I think it's one of those things. If he came back just for the Oakland series, would make no sense. You would just kind of push him off. I think it's because the Dodgers are in town that he's really kind of forced the issue. I don't think it has to do with the All-Star game because he's going to play, 2 innings in an All-Star game, 3 innings in an All-Star game?
He's a starter.
Yeah.
I think he's going to play more than that.
3 innings in an All-Star game in 2024. Yeah, that's about it. All the
Wow,
starters
really?
go. Oh, yeah, the starters are not.
Well, I think he's going longer than that. I'd be
maybe
shocked.
2 at-bats?
I think he's going to go longer than that, though.
I think it's going to be at most 4 innings.
Wow. Okay.
That's why, John, All-Star games are the biggest waste of time.
Well, you and I agree on this totally.
And look, will I be lobbying to get tickets for me and my family for when they're here in 26? Yeah, because the Home Run Derby and all that. If you've never been to one, it's awesome. But yeah, I don't think he's coming back for the All-Star game. I think it's the Dodgers.
See, Home Run Derby bores me to tears.
I like
bores me to tears.
And
the fact that they put it on the radio, I got to tell you, some
make
people
sure
enjoy
you
it.
listen next
No,
Monday night
they
at
will.
Home Run Derby here.
I'm going to tell you, they put it on the radio, and it's the strangest audio to me.
Well,
he just hits one. There's his 16th.
I've covered.
There's his 17th.
I've attended one as a fan, which was
I've attended multiple.
which is Bonds and McGuire back in '96 at the Vet. I covered 4 of them as a reporter. It is monotonous. I like the new format, though, of it being timed as opposed to 10 outs. And
I like that much
Josh Hamilton hitting 45 home runs and still not winning it somehow because Mark Teixeira hit more in like a third round as opposed to what Hamilton did at Yankee Stadium. So, yeah, I don't think the All-Star game, to boil it down, I don't think the All-Star game is playing into this at all.
Back. You missed that. Back. No, I don't miss it.
I don't miss it at all.
I don't miss it. But
That's more annoying, by the way, when you're in the building and you hear it.
Philly sending 7 is fantastic.
Yeah, it's
to me.
cool.
No, I do like that part of it.
It's cool.
I'm very excited about that. I'm excited because I do believe it can be. I have seen players before speak of the experience and being exposed to it. And it's going to come into one of our later conversations. Like for an Alec Boehm,
Yeah.
I think it's a nice thing for him to be able to say, I was an all-star. What will it mean? Does it mean anything tangibly? I'm not sure.
Oh, it means something when it comes to paychecks.
Oh, I know that.
I mean,
well, I honestly think it's a concern that Bohm, Strom, Hoffman all go to all-star games because it means that their prices go up.
And Ranger.
All of them. Their prices go up. Trying to re-sign?
You want to talk about, and I was asking him to dial up the X-Files music yesterday. You want a conspiracy theory? Mm-hmm. Rangers' 3 worst starts, all after Christopher Sanchez got his contract extension.
How about his 3 worst starts after his family arrived?
He actually, the day
his family arrived.
He was okay.
His ERA is 6-something.
That was his first loss, though, I think.
Since his family's arrived.
But he didn't pitch poorly in that game. The last 3 have been poor.
He didn't pitch great that day, though.
No, he didn't pitch great.
His ERA is like 6 since his family arrived. And I think that could be a valid concern. And the idea of, I'm getting my family settled. I have now, instead of just...
Well, that just alleviates any concern I had. If it's off the field stuff that is eventually going to settle in.
And I believe it with Ranger Suarez. I believe it'll all settle down. But I think distractions of home are an actual issue.
I actually think the thing for him is, one, I think he may change his grip or something because of the hand. Okay, I think
getting hit on the hand.
Getting hit on the hand against the Cardinals back in June 1st. He hasn't been the same pitcher. And 2, look, he's missed a lot of time early in seasons. So basically, he has now entered what looks almost like a dead arm period where the amount of innings he would normally have in August when he would struggle is kind of hitting him a little early. That's all.
Yeah, I'm not. So all 3. Okay, this is strange, though. Because usually when you put something like this, all 3 of us are like, no worries about the Braves series. And all 3 of us are like, no real concerns with Ranger Suarez.
I mean,
it almost sounds...
You have to keep an eye out, but I'm not super concerned, no.
We do have someone on the text line at 610-632-0975 who has come up with, and we've walked them to you this morning, if you have a valid Phillies concern.
Yeah, we got another first-time texter, Sam L. from New Jersey.
What's up, Sam?
He says, my biggest concern with the Phillies right now is a 5th starter. They need to find someone they can rely on to eat some innings because it seems some other guys in the rotation are running into some fatigue right now. They're back to that conversation.
Right, but they're going to go to a 6-man rotation in August. So.
Yeah, but they don't have a 5th right now.
Well,
they don't have a 5th guy right now.
Well, Walker's going to be your 5th out of the break.
When he comes back, Walker's your 5th, and we don't know what kind of innings you can get out of him.
And
usually you can get 4.5.
Not going to be until later on, it feels like. So you're probably going to have Mercado a couple times. Maybe they go pick up a back end 5th starter kind of type. But again, this is like the baseball version of a first world problem.
Yeah, it's very much.
But this is a year where I believe it's World Series championship or bust.
But it's very much a regular season problem.
It's a regular season problem because of the fact.
But what happens in the regular season affects your chances to win the postseason, does it not?
No.
Yeah, but what?
So you don't think the Phillies collapses of the last 2 years were a microcosm of things you saw in the regular season?
No. I do. One, and I've heard you say this. The Houston thing is the better team won. That wasn't a collapse in 22. The better team won.
Okay, so the better team won. No one's going to argue with you. The idea that it wasn't a collapse is ridiculous. Their bats were missing in action, completely missing in action.
Who?
After being one of the biggest clubbing offenses for 3 months. They went dead at the worst part of the season. Last 3 games, they went dead.
They went dead because
completely dead.
The Houston pitchers were that good that year.
Okay, what about the first 3 games of the series? They were clubbing the Astros.
The Astros also. If you remember, the Astros.
Wait a minute. You can't do that, though. You can't say to me the Astros pitching when the Phillies were clubbing them in the first 3 games, and then in the last 3 games, the bats
But it's not a collapse. If you're not the better team, it's not a collapse. You want to tell me that the Arizona thing is a collapse? Absolutely. I'm right there with you. The last 2 at home against an inferior opponent.
That was absolutely a collapse.
That's a collapse. I'm not going to argue with that.
But the same thing happened last year that happened this year.
Houston is not a collapse, John. It's not.
The way you're putting it,
lucky.
No matter what the situation, if you're not the better team, you shouldn't win.
John, they were lucky they didn't get swept by Houston. Because if you think back in Game 1, Aaron Nola put them behind the 8 ball, to a point where it was like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. They were down 5-0 before you blinked with Kyle Tucker. I mean, so at this point, like, I felt that was just a course correction. It's almost like in an NHL series when a team goes up 2-1 that's the underdog, okay? Usually something snaps in another group, in that team that's probably the more talented team. Would you agree with that?
Yes. And the Phillies
And I think that's what happened with Houston.
And the Phillies were favored to win the World Series when they were up 2-1.
Well, okay. Just because people in Vegas said it doesn't make it true.
But Kevin, you're making it out like it's ridiculous that was a collapse.
It's not a collapse, John.
Their bats went in a stretch that they'd never shown the whole season. They had not shown that since the beginning in the Joe Girardi year. They did not go like that, Dad.
My biggest thing about the regular season problem with the fifth starter is he's very much not going to pitch. In the postseason.
But you might not
bats
get
go
there.
cold in the regular season. The Phillies aren't going to get to the postseason.
No, you may not get where you want to get. Do you want to be the top seed or do you want to be the second? Do you want games 1 and 2 in LA or do you want them here?
Yeah, well, this is where my mentality from the beginning of the season very much comes back. Like, just get to the playoffs healthy and get there. Would I rather be the one seed? Yes.
Yeah, I would rather be the one seed. But if I'm not going to go freak out and think it's not going to.
No, like the fifth starter's not going to kill me in the postseason. They have enough to get it done.
Especially when the other team that you would be battling for the one seed has a history of choking in the first round.
Why do you have to make it freak out? It's not a freak out for the Phillies to go get a fifth starter. It's not a freak out move. It's a logical, makes sense.
I would like it. Is it a
That's
concern?
a move that makes sense.
Is it a concern though? That was the whole premise of it, right?
Yes.
Like, do they have a real concern?
But it's a first world problem. Look at the Orioles are the best team in the American League talent wise. The Orioles need 3 starters.
If you're telling me Mercado is one of the options for you,
I would say
I don't believe it.
That's a concern at that point, but I don't think he's not the long-term fifth starter.
Okay, we don't like the long-term fifth starter we got. Nobody likes it.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, Taijuan Walker does eat innings, and he goes out there and he gives you what a fifth starter should give.
But if he eats innings and he doesn't help you win, that's different. If he's going to put you in the hole every time, then he starts taxing your bullpen. Then he starts hurting you. I mean, it's just this, to go out and get a fifth starter isn't a freak-out move. It's not. It's a logical, smart baseball move.
I agree with that 100%. But when we're talking about concern, I think that's so minuscule on the scale of anything that I can't call it a real concern.
All right, Phillies have a big week ahead of them, though. We'll talk about that. I know Dave wants to join us and discuss it. You can at 610-632-0975. How hard would it be for you to identify the top 16 players on the Eagles roster? Well, we've gotten through 14. But these final 2, it's going to be a bloodbath. John Kincade, Kevin Cooney in for Andrew Salciunas. It's Kincade and Salciunas here on 97.5 The Fanatic. have YouTube up in your
Yes, I do.
classroom before class?
Yes, I do.
So you're watching it. I'm surprised the amount of people that I do meet. Met somebody again yesterday.
Plus, I also have I had a first period prep last year, so I would have advisory. Kids would leave, and then I watched the 8 o'clock hour of this show on YouTube.
See, that's beautiful. We appreciate that so much when people get in that way. Whatever way you're listening, we appreciate it, whether you listen on the app, whether you're listening on traditional radio, whether you're watching on YouTube and following along in the morning. Haley does a fantastic job of keeping that together, which is great. So
Yeah.
it's nice to see. It is interesting.
And I
though.
love the commenters. That's me.
You enjoy that.
I enjoy it.
You enjoy the.
I enjoy
those.
Mopar and Stanley and all of them. Even the people who hate me.
That's all right.
Hey,
It's all right. Do they know you? They don't know you.
they know me sometimes from either being on during the weekends.
do they know you? They don't know you. You have met them.
I haven't met them yet.
Because there's some really good people.
Yes.
I've met some really good ones. I would ask you this. How hard was it out there, if you played along with us, coming up with your top 16 Eagles? And getting to the final two on our 16, I think is going to be a bit of a knife fight. We'll get to that. But I want Dave from Ben Salem to be able to check in with us. Dave, good morning. You're on the Fanatic.
Hey, good morning, John. Good morning, Kevin.
Hi, Dave.
Hey, Dave.
What's up, buddy?
Doing good. I hope you guys had a great 4th of July.
We did.
Yeah.
So definitely want to talk Phillies, man. Needless to say, guys, you know this is a very important homestand coming up with the Dodgers and the A's. You know, you got to have a winning homestand going into the All-Star break.
You got to? Like, when you say you got to. Got to?
I think you got to. I think you need a double-digit lead at the All-Star break, John. I think
Really?
this team. Well, this is why, John. The 93 team, yes, they were older players. But if you remember, and I know Kevin does, you remember that season, they had such a big lead at the All-Star break. They were horrible the second half, but they couldn't blow it because they had such a big lead.
I know they didn't have a winning record over their last 100 regular season games.
They did not, yes. And
But-
I agree with
but-
And
that.
they almost got caught by Montreal at the end.
But
Right.
I don't believe
did.
this team is going to. Look. If they go into the All-Star break 7-game lead, I'm not even blinking.
Yeah.
But
I
there's-
take it
And,
right, so much
and
double
Dave, remember also, Atlanta's going to have at Arizona for 4, at San Diego for 3. That's a tough road trip going into the
let's
All-Star
say they
break.
win, let's say they win 4
Yeah.
of those. I mean, they could.
Then it's going to probably be a 7-game lead.
Right. I mean, I'm not worried.
It's
Dave,
not the end.
Dave, I get you, and I love it. I got to ask you one question though, David.
Sure.
What do you think about what Daryl Morey's been cooking?
You know what? I'm glad you brought that up because I was going to discuss that, man. I like the Caleb Martin signing. I love Drummond being back. Drummond's got to give Embiid rest and give them minutes. Paul George, I don't know. 3 years ago, I would have loved to have Paul George. I don't know if he's the same player right now.
Okay, would you?
Hopefully he makes-
I mean, and we're going to do a little exercise. Thank you, David. We'll see you soon, buddy. I love the fact that Daryl Morey has sucked me back in because I think he's done a better job than I thought he could do with. He had resources, but I'm like, it's great to have money, but this isn't the biggest year to have money or the greatest year to have money.
And that's where he didn't get creative in a sense of I would have loved the Bridges trade that would have packaged picks and you're just trading picks and not, necessarily giving a big long-term contract to Paul George. But when that kind of got off the table, he did what he had to do to surround everybody else. It's more than the George signing. It's everybody else. It's Gordon. It's Drummond. That's where it's Martin. That's where I think he's done a really good job more than what's going on with just getting Paul George at a max deal.
In the 8 o'clock hour, I'm going to get Kevin Cooney and Brendan Gunn to do a little exercise that I did with one of my friends who was sort of being, wake me up when the playoffs come. I don't really see where they're that improved. I'm going to put these two guys to the same exercise I did with him. And by the time he hung up the phone, he was like, yeah, I guess you're right. This Sixers team is better. We'll get to that coming up in the next hour or so. But so we went on our 16 days to the Eagles' first practice. Mm-hmm. And we went on the top Sweet 16 list. And what we found is, if the NFL was having an expansion draft today, who are the 16 players that you would protect to make sure we didn't lose them? We agreed on 13 of the names. Hurts, Brown, Smith, Barkley, Goddard, Johnson, Mailata, Dickerson, Elliott, Carter, Slay, C.J. Gardner-Johnson, Quinyon Mitchell, and Brendan and I bullied Kevin Cooney and got Jordan Davis onto the list.
You outvoted me.
We outvoted you on the list.
You do admit he was the 17th player, so he was
and
almost
if this was
on
Hard
your list.
Knocks, if this was Hard Knocks, though, this would be one of the episodes that Kevin Cooney was holding out, like
it would be
making
the
us
eye
make
roll.
the case.
It would be the eye roll.
Making the case of Davis.
Right. It would basically be the eye roll of, okay, fine.
Now
like sometimes with your wife, you have to do that. Okay, fine. Go. Do it. That's what it would be with Jordan Davis.
Is that what you found as the success to marriage? I said,
yeah, pretty much.
I was asked
Plus,
yesterday,
she's very patient with me. So.
I was asked yesterday, 22 years. Like, well, what advice would you have? And my mom said it before. Have an opinion every third or fourth time.
I hate
and if you do that, you will get your way. Brendan, when you get married, Betty Kincade, wise sage of South Malin Road in Broomall, she warned me the night before my marriage. She goes, John, you have a lot to say about everything. Mm-hmm. She said, have an opinion every third or fourth time. So when she wants to say, do I get the blue towels or the white towels? Honey, which one do you like? You always pick great ones.
That's some good advice.
Don't have an opinion. And I swear to you, 22 years in, I hope she's not listening. I get my way every single time because I let her have her way.
You just jinx yourself.
You think there's something?
You just you spoke during the no-hitter, man.
You think it's?
You have just jinxed yourself.
You think there's going to be like a titanic shift in the now? Like,
well,
after
yeah. Now
22 years?
Now that you spoke it
I
into
think
the
she
open.
knows. She knows one thing. There was a famous Everybody Loves Raymond episode where they were telling Raymond's brother, I can't remember his character name, they were telling him to act like he's not good at stuff. When you're asked to do the laundry or you're asked to do something, don't do it right.
I'm the king of that.
And then your wife will eventually say, I'll just do it myself.
I'm the king of doing it.
Loading dishwashers for me.
Oh, yes?
Oh, I am the worst.
I'll take 35 minutes to dry the dishes, and then that way, or do the dishes, and then that way I don't necessarily have to do them the next time.
My wife's like,
I'll basically put my dishes upside down where it's like, oh, you have it on like the wrong way. I'm like, well, there's a reason why.
my wife's like a Jenga board. Like, it's the way she puts it together. It's like she's following like a strategic path or something. Look, in the next hour, the Phillies weekend was troubling. But is there any reason to stress? And I know Mike and some others have some ideas about who the last two names in the Eagles Sweet 16 need to be. And maybe if our boy Bill Colarulo's up or Andrew DeCecco's up, they could give me their Sweet 16 names. The second half of Kincade and Salciunas with Kevin Cooney in for Andrews coming up here on 97.5 The Fanatic. We know it's a Fanatic Monday. That means Pierce Phelps Bryant Heating and Air Conditioning. And I know they're having a busy few days. I would imagine with your calls. Visit nopaybryant.com and get flexible spending options on a new heating and cooling system. I would imagine our friends at Pierce Phelps Bryant Heating and Air Conditioning are having quite a few people going, help, help. You don't have air conditioning right now?
Oh, you're moving.
Mr. Carrier, who invented air conditioning, one of the greatest Americans ever. One of the greatest human beings ever.
Air conditioning and indoor plumbing are the two best inventions ever.
I would rather go outside and go to the bathroom than not have air conditioning. If you gave me the choice.
That went down a wrong road, didn't
Well, no, you could build a nice little, now we're in a nice area, you could build a nice little outdoor if you needed to. I would rather have that than not have air conditioning. I couldn't do without it. Like this weekend, I felt like I was back in the South.
Yeah.
Where people are like, oh my God, this is terrible. And I'd be like, this is at least 50 to 60 days of summer every summer in the South.
The great part about working 12 to 3 on a Saturday and a Sunday is you walk in at a time right when it's still cool enough, and then you walk out and it's starting to cool down a little bit.
We got today's headlines coming up with Brendan Gunn. And then I have a little exercise that I want Kevin Cooney and Brendan Gunn to do with me that I believe is going to make every Sixers fan buy in.
All right.
All right? So that's going to come up after headlines, and Brendan's got that cooking for you. But look, we've been doing our Sweet 16 Eagles today. It's 16 days to the start, first practice. And so I just came up and I said, look, if there was an expansion draft today, the NFL's going to expand by 2 teams. By today at noon, Howie Roseman and the Eagles had to come up with 16 players they were allowed to protect. Who would be the 16 Eagles we'd protect? 13 of the 16, the 3 of us, independently, we did not look at each other's lists, we agreed on. Hurts, Brown, Devontae Smith, Saquon Barkley, Dallas Goedert, Johnson, Mailata, Dickerson across the offensive line, Jake Elliott, and then on the defensive side of the ball, Carter, Slay, C.J. Gardner-Johnson, and Quinyon Mitchell. We got voted onto the roster, the 14th, Jordan Davis, but Kevin Cooney brought up some really logical reasons why you might not want to do that. We've got other names that we're kicking around. Can we get it down to this? Can we just get it down to the names we're going to discuss? Is Josh Sweat one of the names we need to discuss? Or Bryce Huff? Because Howie Roseman cannot leave his top 2 pass rushing options on an expansion list. If this mythical exercise was
they're part of the discussion, yeah.
They have to be part of the discussion. Yeah. Does Sidney Brown have to be?
This is where, if it's a 1-year thing, the answer would be probably no.
Well, it's not for 1 year because you could lose him.
Yeah.
But I don't know if an expansion team would take him.
Right. I think Cooper DeJean, I would make the argument DeJean has to be one of them.
Can you? I think he's a logical man. And I didn't say that in the 6 or the 7, by the way.
I think there's an argument for DeJean. I don't know if there's an argument for Sidney Brown yet coming off an ACL. I don't think anybody
we're going to take Sidney Brown off the list then. So we've got it down to Sweat, Huff, Cooper DeJean, and Milton Williams, Bill Colarulo's cousin, who's also I think we figured out that Bill's mom is a Sirianni. Because Bill has got there's something.
Somewhere along the lines, yes.
Bill's a Sirianni. Colarulo Sirianni. You do the 23andMe, you're finding it.
If Bill starts mugging into the camera when he's in with Bob, then we'll know it for certain. You know?
Yeah, that was a great segment. Yeah. Nodding. I hate that crap too. Hey, but Mike from Delran, I know this. If Howie Roseman could call Mike from Delran if he had to put this Sweet 16 list together, he would. Michael, who were your next 2 players for the Eagles? We agreed on most of them, and I think most of the ones that we agreed on, you'd agree to, correct?
I do, and in fact, he did call me. And, I actually called in because I didn't hear Jake Elliott. And that was
he's on he was on all of our lists. He's part of it. Jake Elliott was absolutely part of it.
Yeah. So out of the rest of the names, I would.
If it was Sweat, if I gave you Sweat, Huff, Cooper DeJean, and Milton Williams,
it's Sweat DeJean. in my opinion. Cooper DeJean has, we have the potential to go back to have a backfield like we used to with Lito Shepherd and Sheldon Brown with these two guys. So I would definitely say Sweat and Cooper DeJean. And like I said, I was going to say Elliott, of course, but you guys already
Elliott was on all of our original lists.
Hey, real quick, a Sixers thing before I hang up?
Yeah.
I had no idea how tall and big Daryl Morey was, dude. Did you see that picture with all that they signed? He's huge.
We had the opportunity to see Daryl a while back. Thanks, Michael. And what are you going to say for me? There you go. 16 days.
Well, you guys are just wishing summer away, aren't you?
No.
16 days. 16 days. 60 days to the opener.
Well, it is 60 days to the opener.
Yes, I get it.
Look, it's not wishing. You and Ray Dunn have common DNA here. Saying something 60 days away does not mean.
I'm 27 years older than him, so it'd be kind of tough.
There could be some common DNA. Maybe the families somewhere along the lines merged.
I'm not wishing the summer away
it's
by
like
saying that.
nobody's wishing summer. Ray is stop wishing my summer away.
60 days could mean a long time away.
60
you're
days
the one
is a
saying.
long time. It's
two
a
whole
really long.
months.
When I'm laying at the pool, it puts a smile on my face that it's 60 days to the Eagles opener. And I'm still loving every minute of being at the pool.
Okay.
I'm not saying, damn, I wish this pool day was over. I'm not wishing this pool day was finished. You know what I mean? It's like
I get it. Look, and I'm a college football fan. I am looking forward to college football coming back, but I'm also like about 3 weeks away from being really ready for it.
So you're like, does training camp? You are a guy who's been a reporter,
right?
So you come out of that, that part of the industry.
I hated training camp.
What'd you hate about it most?
Trying to make something out of nothing. Trying to make chicken
salad out of
chicken. Yeah. I mean, look, you can find good human interest stories in training camp. You can. But, like, when we got into these superposition battle kind of things where you knew, like, spot 52 and 53 were the ones we're talking about, odds are they had no impact on where this team was going to go. Maybe that's it. Maybe that's where my backing off a training camp. Plus, preseason football is just awful.
I hate preseason football. I watch preseason football holding my breath. I am.
Well, now you don't even have to hold your breath because none of those starters ever play.
That is the truth. We have a Sixers quiz that's coming up with you after headlines with Brendan Gunn. But we've also talked today about, do you have any valid Phillies concerns? And we all came in this morning, and I thought at least one of us was going to be like, yeah, this weekend made me a little uneasy. It didn't do anything for me.
No.
I expected the Phillies to lose 2 out of 3 going in. I didn't expect them to win the opener against Fried. That's one that I had penciled in that they would lose. But they've
owned Max Fried this year in those 2 starts.
Not only this year. They've had some good luck against Max Fried. Not good luck. Good performances against Max Fried. But, so the Phillies get a win there. We do have some, I said, is there any valid concerns regarding the Philadelphia Phillies? And on our text line at 610-632-0975, Brandon, you said someone did find one.
Yeah.
Is it another first-time texter?
It is.
Wow, what's going on today?
Third today. We got Frank from Newtown checking in. He says, I am concerned about Ranger. I think long-term he'll be okay, but his decline seems to have occurred when he hurt his hand. Perhaps he just needs a little break in the All-Star break, and then he agrees with the other 2 as well. So he has 2 other concerns, that a right-handed bat in the outfield and another reliever, middle relief pitcher. That's what they need. So he has a couple concerns.
Would you want another bullpen arm or would you want a 5th starter? And you probably can have both. You're going to have both. I would imagine that Dave Dombrowski gets both. What would be your priority? Dave calls you, Kevin.
Probably outfield.
No, 5th starter or bullpen arm.
Oh, bullpen arm.
Bullpen arm every time.
I'm sorry. I was reading an outfield thing about. Right. I was reading about the Brent Rooker thing that we were talking about yesterday.
Yes, sure.
So.
I'm going relief pitcher just because
you want the flexibility.
Yeah, because we saw what our 5th starter did last postseason. They didn't even go to him in a game when you used every other pitcher.
You want a concern for me?
Yes.
Alvarado.
Really?
Uh-huh. I think
a little wilder lately.
A little wilder and a little bit looking like he's leaking oil a little bit right now.
All right. It's that time of day. Usually it's with Connor Thomas, but Brendan Gunn was kind enough to step in this morning.
Today's headlines with Connor Thomas.
All right, what's going on? So I got a bat.
If this was GH.
Hi, Connor.
If this was General Hospital, they would say, due to illness, The role of Connor Thomas is being played by Brendan Gunn.
You know, I went to see Hamilton, and I ended up with the understudy there, too. So
Let's see.
All right, so it's going to be a basketball-heavy headlines today.
Okay, good.
We had the Summer League debut of the hottest thing since sliced bread, the best thing in the world since the AC was invented. Bronny James.
Oh,
and he went out there and he went 2 out of 9. He scored 4 points. And then he didn't even play yesterday. But the best part is today he's the top headline on ESPN, of course.
No, he isn't.
And guess who's talking for him? Not himself, his father.
I don't know if people really understand Bronny. He doesn't care. I actually cared a little bit when I came there. I wanted people to like me, and some of the things that people were saying about me kind of bothered me early on in my career. I let it get to me. Bronny doesn't give a He doesn't.
Oh, thanks for the cursing there, LeBron.
Yeah, appreciate that, LeBron.
You know, it was funny. I actually saw Awful Announcing did a thing on their website yesterday. Is the Bronny James becoming the Tim Tebow of the 21st century, like of this era?
Tim actually had accomplishments.
Yeah, but
Tim was the greatest player in college football.
But the idea that he has become the lightning rod talking point that starts all these shows.
Well, that's, I think, is going to get them through till training camp.
Like, is LeBron
Bronny
doing him any favors?
No, he did.
No.
He's done him no favors since the beginning.
He's a grown man. And now
Let your kid make their own way in life.
let them talk by themselves. Let them go out there and
Yes.
negotiate a deal by themselves. We're talking about a kid. He just signed his contract over the weekend. He got, what, $7 million, $8 million guaranteed?
Yeah.
Isaiah Wong, a local kid, he went to Bonner around here, was drafted in the exact same pick last year. He got $550,000 guaranteed over his contract. Like,
Look, I don't get it with parents like that. I don't understand helicopter parenting. I've never understood it. My daughter is going to be a college graduate within 300 days. And she's going to go into a career that is sort of media-oriented. She has not once asked me to go, Dad, would you make a call for me? Dad, because she knows that I would say to her, you need some advice, I'll give you advice, but you got to do it. Fly, little birdie. Fly. You got to do it.
There's no adults there. There was no adults in this entire process. Nobody who told him he should go back to college.
Right.
Nobody who, the idea that Rich Paul is like holding teams up and saying if you draft him, he's going to Australia.
Who cared?
There was never an adult in this entire process.
yeah, well, maybe there was no adult there because one of those adults who should have been there, Rich Paul, he was in Philadelphia last night.
What was he here for?
Tyrese Maxey, they did a big ceremony for him last night for his contract negotiation. Rich Paul himself said in his, 23 years of being in the league, he's never seen anything like it. And we all know that probably speaking a lot because the courtmanship of LeBron James has been like none other in NBA history. But Tyrese Maxey spoke a little bit. He talked about the big man Embiid, but that might not have been the coolest part of the night, but I'll let you hear that first.
I sacrificed a lot. I just feel like I was going to be prepared to step into a situation and try to help a team win. And I really do appreciate y'all for taking a chance on me and allowing me to be a part of this. Big fella, thanks for coming, man. I really do appreciate it, man. You were the first person to really believe in me. I keep telling everybody that. Just walking onto the plane, you telling me to sit there, you bringing me, a PlayStation, that meant the world to me. I hope I'm not going to let you down.
I love everything about Tyrese Maxey. And I'll tell you I can't tell you the last athlete, Kevin, that I've said that about.
Yeah.
Every single thing about him, the way the young man carries himself on and off camera, on and off mic, his performance, how he continues to escalate his game.
My only question was, that was supposed to be last night when they released the video last night.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Joel's in Vegas, and yet Joel somehow shows up at the same thing at the same time. It's like,
Well, they taped it.
I get it.
And then release it. I get you.
But there's sequencing, I've been told, about the NBA contract, so,
Well, Daryl Morey's no issue to some of that stuff, toting the lines of the rules.
Yeah.
But the coolest part about the night was something the fans have been asking for years at this point. And Dr. J presented Tyrese Maxey with the throwback 2009, late 90s, early 2000s black Sixers uniform. And I don't know if you guys saw this. Not only did they have the uniform, but they had a Slam magazine. And you think it was just like an old copy? No, on it says the fans asked and Philly answered. The 76ers Classic Edition. So it looks like they're bringing back those black uniforms.
This is the Iverson era jerseys, the Croce era jerseys. Yeah.
You like him?
I'm okay with them. It's better.
I'm not a big fan,
Those are the
but
best
I
uniforms
understand.
of all time. I mean, to my age group.
Really?
Those are I know the Sixers are red, white, and blue, and that's
Sixers are
traditionally what they've been.
It's not
to me. The Sixers are those black uniforms. There's a alternative blue ones.
If
the silky smoothness, how do you hate them?
If it gets rid of the parchment paper ones that are the city editions, I'm all for it. But I personally like my favorite one was the Spectrum one they did.
I love the Spectrum one
ago.
too, but that also maybe plays to us more
us
than,
as opposed to
more
them.
than
But
Brendan.
I did enjoy the Spectrum one. I think they were the best city edition uniforms.
Like the
They
Reading
were.
Terminal one didn't do anything for me, or Boathouse Row.
Oh, it was terrible. I hope that whatever gets the fan base jacked up, to me, that's what I care about.
Oh, and they picked
If the fan base, I believe that if they put them for sale today, they'd be sold out today.
It's going to be the holidays, though.
Yeah, and hopefully
they'll wait. They'll
Yeah.
wait.
Hopefully they bring back the throwback court too.
There you go.
All right,
well,
so-
they will probably do that.
Yeah,
right?
with the little basketballs coming in off the sidelines. All right, last thing. You guys talked about the Sixers and Daryl Morey. I'll replay that, and I'll share my thoughts on it.
I believe Daryl Morey delivered more than I expected with his blank slate and his money to spend than I thought he would. I don't believe that Paul George means pencil them into the Eastern Conference Finals and they're going to win an NBA title. But I'm a hell of a lot more enthused about Sixers basketball than I was 10 days ago.
Yeah, I mean, for the first time...
That's where you're at?
Yeah, I can't do anything but agree with you. For the first time in my life, the Sixers have got a free agent in here. So he proved all the doubters wrong. They got Paul George. They got Caleb Martin coming in, and he took less money, nearly half the contract he got offered for the Miami Heat to come to Philadelphia. When's the last time the Sixers have done that at all? And it turns out all the Daryl Morey is a liar. The hysteria around that
Didn't do anything.
didn't do anything. So do I
okay,
think they're going to overtake the Celtics? No.
People
but-
didn't listen to James Harden. Get out of here.
Hey, all right, good job. Good job, Brendan. You did a fine job. Connor would be proud of you. No, he wouldn't. He'd be pissed that you did such a good job. No, Connor's a good kid. I will ask you this to do this little project with me. It's very simple, and every Sixers fan can play along in their car. Paul George replaces who?
Tobias.
Correct. Andre Drummond replaces.
Paul Reed.
Correct. Caleb Martin replaces. In your mind,
Nick Batum.
I think it's Batum also. You agree? Like that's probably
yeah,
the
and
body.
they do separate things, but that's the guy he's replacing. Yes.
Both salary wise and on court position.
Gordon replaces.
Healed.
Okay, I'm going to ask you here. Would you in any way take Harris over George,
No.
Reed over Drummond,
No.
Healed over Gordon, Batum over Martin?
Healed over Gordon, yes.
You would.
I mean,
I would not. Not after. And you know what though? And Brendan, you know,
It's a wash in my mind.
It's like I don't. Like, I think that's a fair assessment.
For
I
a
think Buddy Hield has some-
minimum contract.
Buddy Hield has years left. Eric Gordon could fall off a cliff at any second.
But it's a minimum contract.
That's fair.
You would have
and-
had to give Healed more.
More.
Yeah, so I'll take Eric Gordon on the cheaper deal
But-
where you can go out and afford a Caleb Martin.
I'm gonna tell you right now, and Daryl Morey, I take this like as a win. I am always willing to say when I doubt somebody or when I doubt talking points, when I was wrong. I was wrong. I did not think.
Did you save that sound clip there? So you
he
can,
knows.
Okay.
He gets. Unfortunately, he gets it like once a week.
I know.
Harris, Reed, Batum, Healed. If you told me George, Drummond, Martin, Gordon, not only has he improved the team, he's distinctly improved the team. This team is so much better than they were when they walked off the court after games.
There's one concern.
Age
Injury.
and injury. Sure. But I mean, I can't live, even though in Joel Embiid era, you have to live your life.
Well, I was just going to say, you're rolling the dice either way. So you've maximized the ability to have the best talent available. And if Embiid gets hurt, you figure the odds are that you hope, knock on wood, that both George and Embiid are going to be hurt at the same time. And if that's the case, look, if George and Embiid are hurt, this thing becomes a disaster. But there's not much then Daryl Morey could do at that point.
Right.
That's just it's not your time. You know?
I did not believe that Daryl Morey was going to be able to go out and just because he had money, be able to improve so many different positions.
I just didn't think anybody would ever come here. Like, I really didn't think you were going to
Caleb
get
Martin
a Paul
thing
George.
is a nice
Yeah,
move.
The Caleb Martin thing.
9 days ago, there was a legitimate thing about whether a free agent of any significance would ever come here.
There was, and it was a valid concern.
And it was valid. So, and now, did Paul George have many other options? Sounds like no.
Well, Paul George wanted to go to Golden State. So that's just the one thing about the whole conversation.
And the Clippers didn't want to give the fourth year the Paddock.
Like, I mean, he wouldn't have been here.
No.
So I don't want to ever hear so excited to be in
But
Philly.
you still have to credit Morey in that case because he was setting up for this summer.
No,
Now, could he foresee that Paul George would have no other options? No, but he did what he set out to do.
So Paul George will not be able to give the Cliff Lee, he chose us treatment.
No, he can't.
No,
he doesn't get that. He does not get that at all.
Cliff Lee was a jerk, though, anyway.
Well, okay, big jerk. All right, how about this one? Someone might be hurt. And if they're hurt, how much does it benefit us? Find out who's hurt. John Kincade, Kevin Cooney in for Andrew Salciunas. It's Kincade and Salciunas on this Monday morning here on The Fanatic. coming up. FanFest, Saturday, September 28th at Xfinity Live. Do you want to know the amount of days? This psychopath knows. It's 82 days to FanFest. But our first online ticket raid is going to be today, 3 o'clock, during the best show ever. So don't miss your chance to get tickets for the biggest party of the year. All the Fanatic hosts will be there, celebrity guests, Philly sports legends, activities, games, prizes, and much, much more. Check out 975thefanatic.com and get all the info. 3 o'clock today, there will be an online ticket raid. So I guarantee you that the gang from the best show ever will give you every little heads up that they can to make sure that you're ready for it.
He really is wishing summer away, though, isn't he?
I'm not. I'll just tell you.
How did you just pull 82 days out of your head on that?
I told you it's not out of my head. It's my countdown calculator.
You just have a countdown calculator ready to go.
It's 170 days to Christmas.
Oh, John, stop!
It is 60 days.
What did the guy get on that?
It is 60 days to. It's 60 days to the Eagles opener, 82 to FanFest, 120 days till we're delivered from all the stupid political ads.
How many days until an Eagles Super Bowl win this year?
I have a feeling that if I was to estimate right now, the Eagles parade will be in around probably 215 days or so.
It's going to be a great comeback from a 1-3 start, according to Kevin on that.
Kevin needs. I'm telling you. I'm just.
I love that people think after watching what happened at the end of last year, it's so outrageous to think.
I think it's absolutely outrageous. And here's a good one from a gambling guy in town.
Okay.
The Eagles being, that's what Vegas thinks. The Eagles being favored in their games, in those games. When you pick against a team to go that is favored in all 4 games, to go 1-3 in those games, probability of that happening.
Probably about 9%.
You're not bad. How about it's around 11.4%?
Okay.
That they'd go 1-3. The team that's favored in all 4 games.
I'm not having them 0-4. They'll beat Atlanta.
No, that's what I said, 1-3.
Right.
You're talking about around 11% that the odds that would be the case. Now, that does not take into account catastrophic injury or some change to the roster.
Or Nick Sirianni's headphones actually being connected to everybody else.
I would promise you this. There's one thing I know from everything that I've read, everything that we've been able to put our eyeballs on, this offense is going to be Kellen Moore's. It's not Nick Sirianni's. It doesn't look like it. It doesn't sound like it. It's making me happy. Makes me really happy. I don't want him.
That's wonderful. I get it, but it's going to take some adjustment.
Kellen Moore's offenses?
I think it'll take some adjustment.
I'll make the argument to you. We've already done it on the show before, but if you actually first year in Kellen Moore offenses, quarterbacks do not have a slow learning curve. In fact, they tend to make big splashes as far as improvements. That they don't tend to be.
John,
it doesn't tend to be the long
I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm buying you dinner.
And I do believe you hope you're wrong.
But
I believe that.
I don't trust this head coach as far as I could throw him, and I don't trust their vibes as far as I could throw them.
Who do you think hired the coordinators? These coordinators.
Probably the same guy who hired the last coordinator, which was Howie.
Correct. But do you think, well, I understand. I've heard, again, I'm not a reporter. I heard Jeffrey Lurie was heavily involved in both of these hires.
For this
in
year.
getting these guys in here.
Doesn't surprise me because they both involve serious cash being involved here as well.
And that he was also part of recruiting.
Yeah.
Making sure that this got done. I believe he had a more pivotal role than Nick Sirianni did.
That's fine, because Nick Sirianni, I have no idea what the hell he's going to do anyway.
See, I think the one thing is that we're more in common than we're not. But I do believe.
All right, so you would not have gotten rid of Sirianni last year.
I would not have. I would have given him another year because I don't believe when I heard you could get the minute that I heard that they could get Vic Fangio and they could get Kellen Moore, I was completely fine with bringing back Nick Sirianni.
And John, I'll tell you the reason I would have. You ready? Because the minute you do start 1-3, the chaos begins. The minute you start 0-1, the chaos begins, and the countdown to him getting fired. It's what's going to happen with Mike McCarthy in Dallas. It's what's going to happen it's what happened last year with Brandon Staley out in Los Angeles. It's just there's a point where in the NFL it's better to cut bait. I thought last year was the time to cut bait on Sirianni.
Do you think it's odd that the only player who has given you any kind of a sniff of that vibe on Sirianni is your quarterback? And does that bother you worse? Because none of the other players have even – you've heard Devontae Smith has had multiple times. A.J. Brown has had multiple times. Jason Kelce. Fletcher Cox spoke about it on the way out the door. Nobody else is trashing Sirianni but one player by refusing to give him –
And I know I'm going to become unpopular here because I'm going to like – Jason Kelce said the same stuff about Chip Kelly.
So he said the same thing about Doug.
Yeah, so that's just him. That's not – I don't know if anybody is going to bury him because they do like him maybe personally. Okay? Now, when you're talking about Jalen –
I think Jalen Hurts has been reckless in his just inability to put together an English sentence to say something nice about his head coach. And I guarantee you there's something nice that
but
can
if
be
he
said.
doesn't if he doesn't trust Sirianni,
okay, then
do you want him to lie?
No. How about then articulate what your issues are?
Okay, then he becomes.
Is your issues are your butt hurt because the guy you handpicked, your handpicked buddy sucked at the job? Is that the problem?
But of course, if you
put your big boy pants on.
All right, so Joe Santoliquito was on yesterday with Bill.
Love Joe, my high school classmate.
Right. Joe had talked about the fact that the real stress was not Hurts and Sirianni, it was Hurts and Johnson last year.
There was a lot of that. But the thing is Hurts wanted it to work so well. He's the one who pushed for Johnson.
Yeah. I get it.
And they didn't want to rock the boat with him. He pushed for this guy to get a job that he was not ready for. He wasn't ready for it.
But does Jalen Hurts ever show a ton of emotion either way, positive or negative?
Okay.
So if he comes out and gushes about Nick Sirianni, he would be totally out of character.
You're taking it to an entirely different level. I never said gush. You don't have to gush. You can just be in any – there's something that Nick Sirianni does well that enough players have talked about. He makes it a great place to come to work. Players have talked about it.
Right.
That they enjoy the fact that he's communicative as a head coach, that he talks to them, he gets to know them and everything. You can say something nice about somebody that you can't stand in the office. There's something you can say nice about them. They're nice to the secretary. They're always nice. They try to, or whatever it is.
They bring pizza in or something.
Right. Or something like that. It's the idea is that Jalen Hurts being purposefully deaf, tone deaf, like where he came out to Jeff McClain and goes, really? I didn't know anybody was talking about his job status. I hadn't heard that. That was the biggest bunch of bullcrap that I've ever heard. And to me, that's purposeful. He's doing it on purpose. He's trying to be passive aggressive. If Jalen Hurts damn well knew.
So you would have been better off if he just came in and
say something.
Absolutely ripped them.
Say something nice. Say something of.
But if he doesn't have anything nice to say about him,
there's nothing nice to say. There's nothing nice to say. He can't say that I'm enjoying the vibe. I'm feel like our new coaching staff and everything working together.
Maybe he doesn't.
Okay, then guess what? Then something's wrong with Jalen at that point.
Well, do you think he's trying to sabotage Nick Sirianni's coaching stature with the team?
I absolutely think that's exactly what's on.
Where does he go then? Like that sabotages himself. It's self-sabotage.
I don't think it does because he thinks he can
We've heard Adam Schefter on the station 3 separate times bring up Jalen Hurts and his future with the team if this year doesn't go successful for him.
But
he's not tied at the hip. He's not making that up.
I don't believe they're tied at the hip.
Like if Jalen Hurts has a bad year.
No, if it's a bad year, but he's tied at the hip right now to Kellen Moore. Kellen Moore is the guy who is going to decide success or failure, along with Jalen Hurts, on what happens this year. It is not Nick Sirianni's offense. It's him.
Well, so if Jalen Hurts has a good year and Kellen Moore has a good year, Nick Sirianni's staying here. He's not going anywhere.
And guess what? All the passive-aggressive BS can stop. But it can stop.
But John, here's my argument on the Hurts thing. Okay, if there is a possibility he's like every one of us, wondering what the hell Nick Sirianni's going to do. And he's asked the question by Martin Frank of the News Journal in Wilmington about Nick changing things and everything. Maybe he just legitimately didn't know how to answer it.
No, it's easy to just say, I don't know the answer to that because I'm trying to. There are a lot of moving parts right now. We're trying to figure things out. I don't know what Nick does on a daily basis compared to the coordinators and otherwise. But
to do it on the snap of a finger.
Oh, come on.
But if I'm Jalen Hurts, I almost feel like anything I say is going to be taken one way or another.
It wouldn't be taken poorly. It doesn't take 2 seconds to say something nice. It does not. The whole passive aggressive thing that he did.
Maybe he doesn't want to say anything.
He did it
nice.
on purpose. That was purposeful to go. Really? I had no idea that his job status was up for discussion.
Well, that's back in January.
That was when he was cleaning out his locker.
Nobody was happy.
But he knew. Everybody knew that Nick Sirianni's job status was on the line. Everybody, including Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, but maybe he could have just been a smart aleck to the reporter.
He had it.
He could have just said, "Oh, really? I have no idea. I'm not talking to you right now."
He had 2 opportunities to answer it: locker clean out day and then another, and he didn't. Both times he acted.
The Super Bowl was the other.
He's
time.
acting bland,
right.
like I don't know what's going on.
I mean, he has a right to be frustrated
guy.
with Nick Sirianni.
He can be frustrated. He can be frustrated. You know what? If I'm Nick Sirianni, I'm damn frustrated with Jalen Hurts too.
Well, from all reports, that was the end of the season, the thing we're talking about. From all reports, Jalen Hurts has taken a lot of what former teammates had to say into consideration, that he has to be a better leader.
Yes.
So maybe he took that into consideration. He's not going to go out and answer the questions the same way at the end of the season.
He wasn't answering anything before. So
about Nick Sirianni, I don't think him and Sirianni are going to have. I don't think it's going to be a problem. I don't think it's going to be a discussion come training camp.
I hope it's not.
I think it's only a discussion because it happened when it did.
I guarantee you, Nick Sirianni will be addressed in his first press conference, and something will be said that could have put this all behind us for 3 months. Guarantee it.
Perhaps.
Anything. He'll have a statement. He'll say something, and it'll seem like it's casual, but it'll be calculated. It should be. By the way, somebody's hurt. You may not have heard about it. And how does it affect our chances? We'll talk about it next. John Kincade, Andrew Salciunas is out today. Kevin Cooney's in for him. Kincade and Salciunas on The Fanatic.
Bob Cooney.
On the Comcast Business Hotline is Keith Pompey with the Philadelphia.
American soil. He'll be back with us tomorrow. Connor a little under the weather, so Brendan's in for him. Kevin Cooney in for Andrew Salciunas today. And I can only imagine traveling with a 2-year-old.
Yeah, that doesn't sound like
long
fun.
flights, and flights are not fun anyway, but this train thing has got people intrigued. DJ wants to know approximate cost for you and your wife back and forth to Disney via train.
Okay, and I just went through this with Mike Vito in the back. It's $2,000 both round trip for both.
$2,000 round trip for both of you.
For both of us.
So $500 each way.
No, well, $500 each way
for both of you.
For both of us. Well, no, $2,000. So it would be $1,000 round trip. Yeah, okay, so $500 each way. Yeah, sorry. I was told there would be no math at this point.
So you are not a math teacher, just so we can verify
No, I am
that.
an English and a history and a civics teacher.
That's
yes.
great, okay.
But also basically that includes your room. Like if I drove down, I would be staying at a hotel.
Sure, absolutely.
And meals and everything. And honestly, it's a gift from my mother.
That's a wonderful thing.
After selling her house, she is treating us to a vacation. My wife is going back to nursing school. So
that is fantastic.
Yes.
Wow.
Well, since Kevin's bad at math, maybe his 1 and 3 start really is 3 and 1.
That does kind of explain it.
Could be 3 and 1.
He didn't say he's dyslexic.
I was just going to say.
He didn't say dyslexic.
I mean,
doing that.
Look,
the 1 and 3 start. Look, we're full transparency here on this show. I have submitted paperwork down to Naples to have you pee in a cup at the end of the show today.
Smoking crack.
Because we need to check it out. We need to check out because that is, to me, it's. I get concerns about the Eagles. Completely get.
All right. So what do you have them? I know you
Eagles?
love going game by game. It's your favorite thing.
Oh, there's
here on
nothing
this
better
show.
than picking games. The Eagles will be 3-1 after their first 4. And I'm saying
I
that,
would be
and I'm saying it confidently. They will be 3-1.
I would be satisfied at 2-2.
And I believe that they will be. I do believe they will be 2-0, but they will end up 3-1. They'll be 3-1 at the end of 4. They'll go to the bye week 3-1.
See, I think they're losing the Green Bay. I think that just kind of starts everything off.
Well,
then you have the short week, by the way, going Atlanta, New Orleans. It's
right. Does this help you at all? Do you see Dak Prescott this weekend in a walking boot?
Yeah.
I never ever. If anyone knows me, they know I do not like do you celebrate someone else being injured? I do not. But seeing him in a walking boot like 2.5 weeks until training camp was strange to me. Because a walking boot always means to me an injury that's lingering or something that is a sustained concern.
Yeah.
So, any idea? Because it seems like the Cowboys beat writers knew nothing about it.
I think it's a sustained concern. I think that there is something there that happened. Now, it could be
off-season, you believe?
Off-season. Well, yeah. I mean, it could. Look, and you're also talking about they have had just a nightmare of an offseason between the Parsons stuff, the CeeDee Lamb stuff, and the fact that they weren't able to get Dak to alter the contract in any way and extend it out.
All the contract stuff, and then their starting safety, Malik Hooker, was just on national TV on Fox the other day and says Micah Parsons is podcasting too much. He needs to stop.
Which is just internal turmoil.
I mean, so it kind of goes with this division is going to be a train wreck.
Wow, you do believe it's like a 10 and 7 division.
7 wins the division.
10 and 7 wins the division. I'm going to tell you 10 and 7 does not. You got to go better than that. I could see 11 and 6. You told me 11 and 6 wins that I could believe.
That's the floor for the Eagles. They're not winning less than 11 games.
I think 11 and 6 is the absolute floor for the Eagles. How about this? Anything less than 11 wins, I will be floored for the Eagles.
I'm at this point. I think they start 1 and 3. I think they pick it up at the end of the year. I have them at 10 and 7.
So you have 10 and 7 winning the division. So you have Dallas that bad.
Yeah, I have Dallas going like 7 and 10. I have it flipped.
Do you have Washington or the Giants having a winning season? Or
I have
both?
Washington at 9 and 8. I think Washington's going to be better than everybody thinks.
I think Quinn.
The Giants are playing for the number 1 pick.
I got to observe Dan Quinn up close and personal for many years.
I know.
And I am a believer I'm a believer Dan Quinn makes people love to come play for him. He's a guy that people love they love to play for Dan Quinn.
And I like Jaden Daniels. I think he'll be much better at the end of the year than he is right now.
The worst part of Dan Quinn, I always say, is the hour a week where the clock is running during a game.
Yeah.
Dan Quinn will not show up on NFL Coaches Jeopardy week. But he's a good meathead. He is a great, he creates a positive atmosphere. Good guy to play for, good guy to work for.
John, they had pieces there. They just didn't know quite how to work them anyway.
He'll help with that.
Their defense is better, yeah.
He'll help with that. Hey, Keith wants to talk to Kevin Cooney. Keith, good morning. You're on the Fanatic.
Hi, Keith.
Good morning. How are you?
We're good, Keith.
Listen, I don't know what you're smoking. I know they were bad defensively last year. You could see that even when they were 10-1. Are you going to try to tell me that Tampa, New Orleans, and
Atlanta,
the other one,
Atlanta
are going to stay in the game with the Eagles?
Yeah.
Their only threat is Green Bay, and I don't think Green Bay can score enough points. That's number one. Number two is that schedule. I couldn't find 7 losses on that schedule. The Eagles didn't play the season.
Yeah, that's the thing.
You guys are crazy.
No. Don't say you guys. Keith. That's Kevin.
Keith,
don't say that.
Keith, I just watched them.
Kevin, I think
Keith, I love you, but I just watched them. Absolutely have the biggest collapse in franchise history. I've got a head coach I don't know what he's doing. I have a transition in my 2 coordinators. I have a defensive line I don't know where the pass rush is coming from. I have linebackers that are still a big question. I've got 2 rookies that may end up starting in the defensive backfield. I don't think I'm being unrealistic in thinking that they're going to get off to a slow start. By the way, they're also playing basically 3 road games in the first 4.
Yeah, thanks to Jeffrey Lurie. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can say the Packers game is a road game.
It is.
You're not at home.
Game. It's a neutral site. It's not like you're going to Lambeau.
You're playing your biggest game of the year on your home schedule.
I'm not happy about that.
And you gave it away. Gave it away.
No, I'm completely on board with you with
I
that.
think Green Bay's a much bigger threat for the top seed in the NFC than Dallas is.
Yeah. But I'm saying the Dallas game is always the biggest.
Yeah, I still think it's the biggest game in your schedule. At home.
Okay.
Is playing because Green Bay's going to come down to you lose the Green Bay game, that may end up being you both finish 12-5 and you go to Lambeau for a title game.
All that to go all the way to Brazil and play on Peacock.
God, I don't want to. Seriously. And D. Lynam would agree. Days of Our Lives is the only reason to have Peacock. Other than that, it's just not there. So, hey, the Phillies have dodged this bullet the last 2 Octobers. There's no dodging them this week. Kevin Cooney's in for Andrew, John Kincade. It's Kincade and Salciunas on the Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
7 All-Stars in total. I'm Brendan Gunn, and this update is brought.
Monday on The Fanatic. Even with football just 16 days away. Presented by Pierce Phelps Bryant Heating and Air Conditioning Contractors. Visit nopaybryant.com for flexible spending options on a new heating and cooling system. We have some people that have checked in on our Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts discussion from earlier, a little bit of a debate, and also our protected player list, because we've got to come down with our Sweet 16 Eagles. We've got 14. We have to put the final 2, and we've got it down to the last 4 players that we're discussing. What does the text line have to say, Brendan Gunn?
All right, we got a 4th first-time texter checking in, BJ from Ardmore. He says, why is it such a big deal if the quarterback has to say something nice about the coach doing their job? That is not going to translate anything into wins and losses.
Okay. If he thinks an uncomfortable relationship between 2 professionals is a good thing, is that DJ or B? Who is it?
It's BJ.
BJ. BJ, I'm going to tell you that is crazy.
Bill Walsh and Joe Montana didn't get along.
There's absolutely there's always you can point to outliers. It doesn't work in any line of work. It does not work to the peak efficiency when the 2 people who are the most critical don't see eye to eye, don't get along.
But I don't know how critical Sirianni is anymore.
Well, that's the hope. You know what? That's my hope, that he's not.
My hope is my head coach is a non-factor. That's a ringing endorsement.
No. He could be, is that Joe Paterno, Bobby Bowden, won 10, 11 games a year, years into their tenure, where they were non-factors. They did nothing. They weren't out recruiting.
College football's different.
No, they hired people to be the coordinators to run the show.
I get it, but I don't think in the NFL.
What do they need? A rah-rah speech?
What? College football?
Yeah, because that's what Joe Paterno did. That's what Bobby Bowden did.
Joe Paterno and Bobby Bowden became the mascots of the organization.
They were
of the program.
They were, and their coordinators ran the show and coached the players.
Like Nick Saban became it, and Dabo Sweeney became it a little bit at the end too.
A little bit. Nick Saban was. Still
I don't
coaching.
know about Nick Saban.
Nick Saban coaches. Nick Saban is maniacal.
He also. I will say one thing about Nick Saban. Nick Saban also brought in really good people around.
Yeah, but he doesn't. He micromanages.
Right, he did.
He's a micromanager.
That's fair.
But I mean, to me, is that I hope what you're saying is true. I hope you are. What else we got there?
All right, we got Noah from Florida checking in on
What's up,
our
Noah?
protected players. He says you absolutely have to put Jason Kelsey's handpicked replacement, Cam Jurgen, on the list. He's a young player who has showed a solid floor and a high ceiling at a very important position.
Cam Jurgens was not on your list?
No.
He was not on my list?
Not on mine.
All 3 of us left Cam Jurgens off. I think that's telling. First of all,
it's
uncertainty. It may be telling that, look, you only can protect 16. And I said we had 8 on the offensive side of the ball, plus Jake Elliott is 9. Like, to me, then I'm like, okay, you've got to start spending some.
And just to debate Noah a little bit, he said the center position is important. I'm not doubting that it's important, but I think we kind of overrated the center position in this city for a couple of years because Jason Kelsey was the best at it. Teams get away with having a marginal center at best sometimes.
If we went around, the truth is, if we sent our own Haley out onto the streets today, and I sent her out with $100 and said, name me 2 centers in the NFL, I bet you Haley would bring the 100. If she talked to the first 20 people she randomly spoke to and took men, let's make it men, name me 2 centers in the NFL, Haley would come back the next day and give me my $100 back.
More than likely, yeah. Like
it's like people are.
You're losing $5.
You know why
max.
we talk about it? We talk about it because it was Jason Kelsey. We talk about it because he was one of the faces of the franchise.
It's also a player shifting into a new position. One, he was not great at his other position. He was okay.
He was okay,
serviceable.
But it wasn't his position.
Right. It wasn't his position. It's an uncertainty of him going back to center.
I like the
athleticism.
athleticism.
Yeah, but it's the uncertainty of why you don't necessarily put him there. If we do this list next year, then he's probably there.
He could be there. So if we said to you, let's get to this. Cooper DeJean, it seemed as if you made a pretty good point that DeJean has to be there.
He has to be there because, one, you've invested so much draft capital in a way. I mean, you've paired him. You've used two spots on your secondary for a team that hasn't really done that in a generation. And he's a big part of whatever future you're going to have here. I would keep him at this point.
We talked him into Jordan Davis. Well, we didn't. He said
I got voted down.
Okay. Did Cooper DeJean get moved because of Kevin Cooney's little tirade?
He was on the
He's on my list.
Tirade?
I like it. I like it.
I don't hate him being on the list. I might be persuaded to put Josh Sweat on my list a little bit more than a Cooper DeJean.
Well, I'm putting Cooper DeJean. I'm giving Kevin the second
giving him
vote.
the pass?
So we got 15. So now it comes down to Sweat, Huff, and Milton Williams. And I can tell you right now, let's do this for procedure. Bill Collarello does not have this room wiretapped, I do not believe. Milton Williams is, if we're playing the Sesame Street song, one of these things is not like the other.
You can't keep three.
Sweat, Huff, Williams is out every time.
Yeah, you can't keep three defensive tackles.
So is Williams out?
He's out.
Okay, so Williams is out of the discussion. It all comes down to Sweat and Huff. Now, this is for a expansion draft being held at noon today, where Howie Roseman has to pick the top 16 Eagles that he protects. We've got it for you. Hurts, Brown, Devontae Smith, Barkley, Goddard, Johnson, Mailata, Dickerson, and if you count Elliott as an offensive player, that's your offensive side that we protected. Carter, Slay, C.J. Gardner-Johnson, Quinyon Mitchell, Jordan Davis, Cooper DeJean. That's 15. Sweat and Huff are the last two we'll be discussing this hour. And it is interesting. We'll get into it, but Sweat and Huff is what it's come down to, at least for us at this point. The Phillies have dodged a bullet the last two postseasons. They haven't had to play the Dodgers.
Mm-hmm.
Now, some will say, and I believe that's where Kevin sort of falls, well, the Dodgers are one of the biggest playoff choking organizations that we've seen.
One world title through this whole run with Dave Roberts.
And they do tend to fall apart.
Yeah.
First of all, do you put anything into the week off? Like, does that concern you if the Phillies win this division? And I believe this morning, Brendan, you and I all believe, despite the bad weekend in Atlanta, we all believe the Phillies are going to win this division.
I think the week off times with the idea of a best-of-5 series after that week off, where you have to hit the ground running. There's no casual...
Not a lot of ramp-up.
Right, ramp-up. And if you lose one of your first two games at home, which is what has happened to the Braves the last couple of years and what happened to the Dodgers, it's a problem.
I would say both years. Remember the terrible play by Rhys Hoskins that blew Game 2?
Right. And then obviously the catch last year.
And last year,
too.
I mean, the bad base running and everything like that. I think the Phillies were apt to sweep Atlanta both those years.
Right.
In Atlanta. And they didn't. To me,
that playoff format is so unfair. It really is.
So does it concern you, like, about how the Phillies will handle it and how it'll work? Because right now, we're all of the belief they're winning this division despite what we saw this week.
Right.
John,
this is part of the reason why, to me, and I know what you say about you want to put yourself in the best position, and I understand it.
I want the easiest path.
Right. In my mind, winning the division is not as big a deal anymore because of the way the playoff structure is. And
you can make the argument based on some of the stuff we've seen. You know what I mean? The stats back you up.
Yeah. So at this point, does it concern me? Yeah, it concerns me a little. Like, am I going to freak out until October about it? No, but when we get to game one of the LDS, let's be honest. We've all now seen it a couple years. We're going to be nervous because we've seen what the Phillies have done to other teams. Now will somebody else have that opportunity? Let's say it's Atlanta that comes in here. Will they have an opportunity to do that to the Phillies? Yeah, it would. It's going to make me nervous until I see otherwise.
Thing is, at this point, Brandon, do you think at this point, I can't imagine that anything would be worse than the Phillies blowing this big division lead and not winning the East?
Oh, I can't take that twice from my teams in a calendar year. Like, if that happens, I don't know how fans would recover. I don't know how the team recovers from that. If the Phillies go out there and do what the Eagles did and they choke this big lead away, then what are the conversations going to be next year? You're going to have to move off a couple of these contracts. You're going to be talking about now bringing a couple of those guys back. The thing is, I'm talking about this now. There's no way that's happening.
I don't
no
believe it's
way
happening. I don't believe it's happening.
I don't think it's happening either.
So we got to deal with the reality of we're going to have the angst that you're talking about.
Right.
We're going to deal with that. How do we handle it? Here's my bigger concern than the NLDS and the week off. My bigger concern is I'm of the belief right now, because of the way the schedule breaks, that maybe the last 3 series of the regular season are going to mean nothing.
Right.
Well, that's what happened with Atlanta the past couple of seasons.
And if that's the case, do you push hard to get the number 1 seed? So if you were, let's say you're going to win the division. It's the second week of September. You know you're not blowing a 6 or 7 game lead. You're not the freaking Mets. You're not going to blow it. Do you then push, though? The Dodgers are within a game of you.
Yeah, I'm pushing for it.
You jockey to the end to win everything to have the home field.
For the home field to get that, because one, it would keep your starters fresh.
Right.
And as active. That's part of the problem the Braves ran into. The Braves started to gear people down.
They did.
And inactivity. I would say also, if you're looking at an LCS, okay?
Yes.
The idea that you only have to get on an airplane once to go to L.A., as opposed to having to make that trip twice, perhaps, in a 7-game series, is enormous. Like, if I can force the Dodgers to load perhaps onto the plane twice to come back here, come back here as well, that's enormous in my mind. That's one of the bigger advantages you have when in this format of 2-3-2.
Yeah, I'd want to push for the 1 seed, and I want to keep the starters fresh, especially Zach Wheeler. We did, like you mentioned earlier in the show, John, we know he does not like going on long rest.
Right.
I can't imagine that guy not pitching for 2 weeks and then having to go out there in game 1 and get it together. And if you lose one of those games at home in a 5-game series, like Kevin said, that's what got the Braves in trouble. Because then you start...
That's what got the Dodgers in trouble against Arizona.
And San Diego.
Like, you have to win both games at home in those short series.
I understand that the conversations... that the Wheeler Thompson, there had to be like little minor fence mending after the 2022 World Series when he was taken out. And Zach Wheeler, again, spoke last year and this year about the fact, and he says it publicly, I don't want extra rest.
Right.
I don't want to pitch on 6 days rest. It throws me off. It's not. I'm a creature of routine and every... So I don't know how he would dig this 6-man rotation thing, which is being kicked around.
It is being kicked around, and it rightfully is because of the fact that your starters throw the second most innings of anybody in baseball. If you look as a staff, they have thrown the second most innings as starters of any team in baseball.
Is there any way you could let, and I'm going to give Christian the credit for this one on Twitter, is there any way you can keep Zach Wheeler on regular rest and then
it kind of
bounce around with the other
starters? It kind of defeats the purpose, though, because of the fact that one of it is
you're keeping a rhythm.
You're trying to keep a rhythm of everybody else. You know, if you're moving Wheeler as the one guy and everybody else and the other 5 are kind of floating around him, like in an orbit, well, then by the time you get to the playoffs, your roster could be totally screwed up.
Does it concern you guys that it's going so well? It's going as well as the season could have ever went for the Phillies this year, and then you're going to get to August and you're going to switch it up? And then what happens if you slow down a little bit? You think the 6-man rotation is going to help you out. It's going to help you out long term. It's going to save your starters' arms.
There's not as many off days in August, so yeah, I'd have no trouble.
August is nasty, as Kevin was talking about.
Yeah.
The Phillies are right now, barring no rainouts or anything, scheduled to have off August 1st, August 12th, August 19th. 3 out of 31. 28 days you're playing.
Yeah, it's going to be tough.
That's a bit of a grind.
It's going to be a hard ask, but just switching things up, I think that
and they have West Coast travel in there as well.
They do. They will be at the Mariners, at the Dodgers, at the Diamondbacks for a 10-game road trip. That is the beginning at the 2nd of August through August 11th.
Is it worth messing with this rotation right now? I know some have struggled. Rangers struggled recently, but this has been the best pitching staff in baseball so far. Is it worth messing with it?
Well,
I would hate the term. I hate the term messing. I think it's preserving. I think you're trying to find a sweet spot here that makes it work for both. that it keeps them fresh, but it's also not having them be zapped out by the time they get to October.
No, I understand the thing completely, but athletes are a creature of habit, and when you go out there and mess with that habit,
I know what you're saying. I at this point, you're basically giving them, you're building in August off days that they don't have by doing that. Okay, the normal schedule is not 28 out of 31 days. Okay, it's 26, 25. By doing that and skipping a day or two here, you're kind of giving them that extra time.
Well, London blew 2 of these games, 2 of these days.
Oh,
the London thing is not handled well.
No,
it's too much.
Well, the fact also that London was backed up by Boston and Baltimore, too.
On the road, yes. How about, hey, Dom, good morning. You're on the Fanatic. How are you, buddy?
John?
Yes, buddy.
Hey, John.
What's up, man?
How you doing?
Good, man.
Hey, Dom.
So, John, I just want to tell you real quick. Kev's ribbing us all. This Eagles take, it's a rib. Because I listen to Kev every weekend. And yesterday, John, okay, he's going Jordan Love over Jalen. Okay. I mean, flavor.
I think, but I got to tell you this, Dom. I think a lot of general managers would take Jordan Love over.
Yeah, okay. But then Kev goes Jared Goff over Jalen Hurts. So, that's a rib. That's not real for anybody.
Dom, I see. That's not.
Dom, you and I have known each other long enough. I honestly believe stuff like this. I'm not giving you just some goofy hot take. Okay,
he doesn't do that.
I mean,
I listen to Kev every weekend.
And I know, and trust me, I know. I love when you call in and everything, Dom. Yeah. But with Ben Johnson and Jared Goff, that's a pretty good system.
Yeah, and I'm going to tell you, Jared Goff's resume is quite solid as not only places that he's been, accomplishments he's been. Yeah. He's been to 3 NFC title games.
Yeah.
I mean, he's been to 3 NFC title games in a Super Bowl.
I am not taking Jared Goff over Jalen Hurts.
Well, that's your preference.
Can I ask you this? What do you think, and in all honesty, and I'm just not dismissing it. I'm not saying I would. But how many yards do you think Jared Goff would pass for with this offensive line and that weaponry? The Eagles' weaponry. Jared Goff would pass for 4,500 yards. I'm telling you right now, Jalen Hurts
plays all 17 games. He could push for that.
Really? You think he could push for passing for 4,500?
3,800 is MVP caliber season, and he missed 2 games.
I'm going to tell you this, is that then I'd even push it higher, 4,800. I think it would be, this offensive passing attack would be much more prolific.
Because he doesn't have that other element to his game that Jalen Hurts has.
Well, or maybe he doesn't need it as much. We've got Saquon
We've
got Saquon Barkley here. There's no we don't really need it as much. Is that Jared Goff isn't a statue? I mean, it's not like,
all right, let's do the select a player selection thing that we're doing with the Eagles and all that. You think Jared Goff is going before Jalen Hurts in that draft? No way. There's just no way.
It depends on your system, though.
It depends on what you prefer as a quarterback. Like,
I can't believe this. Jared Goff.
Now, I'm not saying, by the way, I'm not saying that's the way I'd go, but I'm absolutely not dismissing it as it's absolutely ludicrous.
Who is a better team? Who is a better team right now? Detroit or Philadelphia?
I'm going with the Eagles. I really will go with the Eagles.
I'll go to Lions. I think the Lions are better.
How about this? We can even double down it on the dinner. The Lions will not be ahead of the Eagles in the NFC standings. The Eagles would not. If the Eagles and the Lions both make the playoffs, the playoff game will be in Philly.
You got it.
Playoff game being Philly.
I'm saying Sean McVay was the brightest mind in football for 5 years, and everybody let you know about it. And he let Jared Goff go like he was the gum on the bottom of his shoes. He did not want that guy anymore.
Oh, it was salary too.
Not necessarily.
No, but that was a big part.
They wanted to upgrade that quarterback position, and it worked out for them. I can't build a team around Jared Goff. That was a one-off last year.
So in the NFC,
so you believe it's a one-off? I don't agree with you there. I think Detroit's right back at being a playoff team this year.
I think the Packers are taking a step up. I think the Bears are going to take a step up. Vikings taking a step back.
Bears have to take 5 steps up.
I'm not betting on the Bears to be a playoff team. I'm not betting on the Vikings to be a playoff team.
I just
think
can't get on board.
Green Bay and Detroit are going to the playoffs, and I don't know who is the division champion.
I can see an argument for Jordan Love. I just can't see an argument for Jared Goff that you would want him on this team over Jalen Hurts or any team.
Would you take Jordan Love ahead of Jalen Hurts?
I would not personally. No, he's done it for half a season. Jalen Hurts at least had the MVP caliber season.
Again, it's a terrible place to live on the fence. But I'm telling you right now, I think both of those discussions should not be dismissed. I'm not saying I would, but I can't give you an answer as to whether I would say absolutely no. I think
it's closer than everybody thinks.
Yeah.
You get biased. You could get biased positive or negative towards your own guy. I think sometimes we get biased a little bit trying to give Jalen Hurts the benefit of the doubt.
We are going to be inundated with ads, with marketing, all for something that is not moving the needle for me. Will it for Kevin and Brendan? The Olympics are coming. John Kincade, Kevin Cooney in for Andrew Salciunas. It's Kincade and Salciunas here on The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
twice.
It's amazing. We used to have a Charlie McCarthy doll. And that's a good old reference. The Charlie McCarthy doll.
That'll get the kids in on this show.
By the way, that freaks me out. They freak me out. Saw a comedian once who did the ventriloquist dummy thing. Was so good.
Like Jeff Dunham kind of deal?
Yeah, but it was, I'm going to tell you this with all respect to Jeff. This guy was better.
Oh.
At just, I think Jeff's sometimes Dunham if you haven't seen him.
Well, according to you guys, we might see a ventriloquist at work this whole season. Howie Roseman and Jeffrey Lurie with Nick Sirianni all
I believe
season.
that's already
apparently
the case.
He's not a human being anymore.
I already believe it's the case. I think with Nick Sirianni.
I think that was from Game 6 of his first year, to be honest. So
I think Nick Sirianni, the only thing completely genuine about Nick Sirianni, and this is just in all honesty, and I'm a guy who wanted him back and everything, is his mugging for cameras and his
annoying traits.
See, I like that when we were winning.
And you like it. I don't. I don't. And again, and it's boring, and I get it, and I'm not discounting that, Brendan, there are many people like you who do dig that. To me, it's I love reading. If I'm going to read a book, like I love to read books about business. I love to read books about entrepreneurs and things that they do. And one thing that that I think is the most tried and true way in business is, one, businesses that fail say this is the way we've always done things. And that also best practices of the best in your industry are hugely important. But I think those two things can sometimes be contrary to each other. Nobody does it like Sirianni. So you have to ask yourself, is he the next wave? Is that the next way to go? Or is he the outlier and he looks like a fool?
Yeah.
And that's what you have to decide.
And it all comes back to winning and losing.
Yes, but the thing
is it the chicken or the egg?
Well, here's one thing. I don't believe Nick is going to get credit if this team wins this year at all. I don't think he's going to get credit. And there were many, I will tell you, in the media and coaching peers. Brian Daboll won Coach of the Year Nick Sirianni's breakout season. Brian Daboll got it, and Nick Sirianni wasn't even I don't even think he was in the top 3.
No, he didn't. He didn't qualify for it, and
I don't think any. I think
the same as Doug Peterson wasn't the year.
A lot of people
said people who are around football ask around, listen in, hear and know how much the head coach is truly the mastermind.
Here's the question: if Nick Sirianni was fired after Week 5, okay,
that'll never happen.
But you know where I'm going. Would he get another job right away?
No, he absolutely would not. I don't think he'd ever be a head coach again.
Exactly.
Could he be a coordinator? Look, with the narrative around him right now, would somebody hire him as an offensive?
I don't think so.
Maybe in like an Andy Reid kind of system where Andy Reid is the overall hierarchy of it all, and it's his offense.
He would have to go back to like quality control or something to rebuild his image.
For many years, did some Westwood One stuff and some local stuff with Coach Dan Reeves, talking NFL football with him after his retirement. And one of the things that Coach Dan Reeves would point to is the league will let you know. The league will speak collectively. And one of those type of examples, Brian Johnson. Some people believe Brian Johnson was a scapegoat here and got put out onto the street and that he didn't deserve to be. Dan Reeves would say to you, the league will let you know. He didn't get a sniff of an offensive coordinator's job because the league knows. The league knows, not ready for it right now, but he can get Dan his coffee. By the way, 2 creams, 1 sugar. That's how Coach Dan Quinn drinks his coffee.
You got his coffee before?
2 creams, 1 sugar. We would
what were you doing in Atlanta then? If you know his coffee
at
order?
Training camp,
that's almost stalkerish.
I'm going to tell you this is great. Is we would go to training camp, and Buck and I would set up our tent there before the morning practices and everything.
At Flowery Branch.
And we would literally we would always lure people in to do interviews. We would have cigars. We always had box of cigars. High-end Cigars had a cigar sponsor. Players knew when they came off after practice, got some cigars today? For you, my man, cigars are open. And we would have sometimes a liquor sponsor. And we'd have the little guest boxes of liquor from our whoever it was. We would have, but one of them was Duncan. And I knew.
Well, that explains the entire fourth quarter against the Patriots. They were drunk on your liquor and smoking your cigars already.
No, because I never would have offered to Kyle Shanahan. I would never have offered Kyle Shanahan anything. And I can promise you this, Kyle Shanahan was not coming over to do an interview with me. No. We were not buddies. He did not dig me. But it's the idea of you lure them. So, like when we went to the Super Bowl a couple years ago, before we went, I was packing high-end cigars and everything like that because I know that Radio Row, they can go here, they can go here, they can go here. Oh, wait a minute. They're the people those guys give out high-end cigars. It's
Hopefully
all
you
about
have the
bribery.
shot to do it again.
But that's how I knew his coffee order.
Okay.
His coach, I found out his coffee order from PR and had iced coffee, hot coffee, waiting for him.
You'll have to get that order to Brian Johnson.
I'll get it. Well, no, Brian's got it. I've made it clear on the show. Brian, 2 creams, 1 sugar. He loves the Dunkin', and he's ready for it. So.
Listen, you give him one
mobile order. Yeah, I was just going to say, mobile order, you just have it ready for him.
Well, it's good. Now, I'd worry about Brian Johnson in the mobile order.
Don't confuse him by
I'd
getting.
worry that I'd worry that he'd try to go off
I was going to say,
script.
don't confuse Brian Johnson by giving him 2 because we all know he only likes to call up the same thing 4 times every drive.
That's why
bubble screen.
So every day, Brian Johnson would have to get the same coffee order.
Yeah,
that's what you're telling me.
He can do that.
That's why the mobile order works because all he has to do is hit the same button. It's like Madden, where you only run the one play.
I don't drink coffee, so this is all lost.
No, I hate coffee.
You're not coffee either.
No, I'm a tea.
You're a tea, okay. So I'm going to ask you this: the Olympics are coming.
I heard they're on NBC.
Yeah, they are. Have you seen the commercials?
A little bit.
And they're on Peacock. So every event will be live on Peacock.
Mm-hmm. And I think USA is going to have some stuff as well.
But you can get every event if you have Peacock. So you've got that. Does it move you? I heard LeBron James talking overnight.
About Bronny?
No, he was talking about the Olympic event and saying how we don't know how many more times we have to do this. I'm like, LeBron, for God's sakes, you keep taking a spot from some young, up-and-coming player.
Oh,
how
no,
many
he
times?
doesn't.
Yes,
no,
he does.
doesn't. LeBron deserves to be on that roster.
He's still one of the top 10 players in the league.
He is. But how many times do we have to send the same players to international competition?
Well, who else do you want to send?
Here, I'll go twice. You play for your country twice. Represent your nation.
What would Carmelo hang his hat on then if he didn't have his 3 gold medals?
I hate it. I hate the dream team stuff. I hate it. I think it's stupid. I don't need to see our country squash people by 35 and think it's somehow entertaining. And the ratings would tell you Americans have tuned out of the Olympics.
So you're telling me if LeBron James is not sent there, they're going to get more viewers on it?
John, it's not about Americans. It's not. It's about growing the game in foreign markets. That the original Dream Team helped get Dirk Nowitzki, helped get.
Why did they create the original Dream Team?
Well,
and don't tell me that it was because of that. It was because of the fact that they lost on an international stage.
They lost it
and
because John Thompson had no idea how to coach his team in '88.
Correct.
I get it. But one of the benefits David Stern saw was the ability to grow the game. Dirk, you want to take it the internet. Giannis yesterday is crying after Greece gets into the tournament. Those type of things happen because of the international exposure that the NBA players have gotten through the Olympics.
I think it's much more because of what they do when they're wearing their team sweaters during the year. They're wearing their uniforms. I think it's much. I don't believe the Olympics is a blip on the radar. And more importantly, I'm just all the.
Are you this way with the NHL?
No, I am.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right, then you're consistent.
No,
I'll give you that.
I want 2 representations of your country.
And then
I want someone else to get a chance. Yes. And you're saying, who would go if it wasn't LeBron? Do you realize, Brennan, we did this.
That's not going to make me watch anymore.
We did this with amateurs. And by the way, Americans watch the Olympics much More.
Before there was on-demand TV.
When we had amateurs.
No, this correlation without causation. Like, you had to watch the Olympics back in the day.
You went to Temple. Stop spiking a football.
All right, so you're saying you only want guys going twice.
That's it. That's right. And
Is that an international thing, too?
No, I want it to be our thing.
No, well, then that you're putting yourselves behind the 8 ball then.
In the NBA we are? You're out of your mind. You're out of your mind. You mean the NBA, the NBA, the U.S. Olympic team could not win if we didn't have LeBron and Durant and others going multiple times. Yes, we could.
They would still win, but
it's getting a lot better.
Well, that's what then what are we worried about?
Why do you not want them to go? More people?
Because I want other people to. I want to see others. I know we've lost the whole amateurism of the Olympics.
Like, what do you want? Ryan Arcidiacono to go trot out there for USA?
You think he's making
I know
it?
you do, but that's a whole different
I don't
story.
think he's making it.
No, I don't think he'd make it either.
So that's it. So we don't need to say his name.
All right.
No, there are other players who could make the Olympic team. And by the way, we'd still win. We would still win.
So are you gonna do that with like the World Championships as well, which is a couple years obviously before the Olympics? If I would make the rule that if you don't go to the World Championships, you don't go to the Olympics.
Okay, now that's an interesting one. That's something that could maybe win me over.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, you should send
fair.
like a B team to the Worlds, and then send an A
that's
team.
fair. That's a fair thing. Is that look? This is just they're dropping in by parachute for
the rest of the world is getting better though. Like they're slowly are closing the gap.
I'll tell you what, France
is good.
France is going to be good, and France is going to make them sweat this year.
And remember that Joel Embiid was begging France to be on the France.
Here we go. John just is like
he had the document. He had the document. And he was ready to sign it in blood to say, "Put me on. If you guarantee me that I'll be on the roster, I'll sign right now and be on France." So just remember that.
You wanted to lose in the second round again. What do you want?
They're shopping. You know what? Team shop, guys. Country shopping to me is part of the other thing that's crazy. Pick one. Pick one.
I mean, they have the rules for a reason. Like
I just don't dig it. I don't dig any of it. I liked amateurism. I did, and I'm sorry. I was much more interested when our amateurs played. Our best college.
So
athletes.
should Simone Biles not go for gymnastics?
I don't know about gymnastics. I'm not making rules for gymnastics. I'm making.
But
rules.
you're making it.
No, because I'm making.
She's going to her 4th Olympics. Michael Phelps is going to 4 or 5 Olympics.
Amateurs, where are they supposed to pull from?
I'm making rules for it. We don't have a professional gymnastics league, it's the NBA that we're watching. We don't have professional swimming league. Those guys, it's not the same.
If there's no pros, I mean, there's one and done in college, and then now, where are you going to pull the amateurs from in basketball?
Well, the thing is, you're going to pull you're not pulling amateurs. You're pulling people who have not represented their country before. You're giving guys 2 shots to represent their country.
It sounds like a participation trophy to me. Like
to go twice.
No, to say, you're only going to allow people to go twice so somebody else can get a shot?
I want to see different people. I do.
Like, I don't care. I want the best there.
I don't need to see LeBron make it the LeBron show, which he already is doing.
I'll be more interested in the breakdancing.
What are you talking about, breakdancing?
Breakdancing is a part of the Olympics this year.
What?
Breakdancing is part of the Olympics this year.
You're breaking my brain.
No, seriously. It's a sport in the Olympics.
It's not a sport.
It's a sport in the Olympics.
What?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Did the two of you spring this on me, or are you screwing with me?
No.
I'm pretty sure it's real.
It's real.
It's not a sport. Breakdancing. Oh, my gosh. Oh, jeez.
You'll be tuning in, Peacock. You know it.
No, I won't.
Yes, you will.
Nah, I might check out Days of Our Lives, but not else. Hey, we got Bob Cooney's going to stop by, give you the midday menu. And Phillies with a rare day off. We'll pick our last member of our Sweet 16 of the Eagles. John Kincade, Kevin Cooney in for Andrew Salciunas. Kincade and Salciunas here in The Fanatic.
Bob Cooney.
You now have...
apologies to the breakers out there. I really did think that Kevin Cooney and Brendan Gunn were screwing with me.
No.
I thought you were. Because I'm like, okay, that's not a sport. But I hadn't known. You did say it's new.
Yeah, flag football's coming in L.A., but breakdancing is in this year's Olympics.
Okay, wait a minute. Now you're screwing with me.
No.
Flag football's coming to the Olympics?
To the Olympics in Los Angeles in 28.
Who are we sending to be on the flag football team?
LeBron.
LeBron.
Well, LeBron will want to be there.
You can only have 2 flags.
No, LeBron will want Bronny to be on the team, of course. Got to bring him along too in the child work program. That is interesting. I didn't know. Well, flag football, we should be sending NFL guys.
Yeah, the NFL's making a big deal.
No,
to play
I
flag
do
football.
not want anybody on the Eagles roster.
I didn't say Eagles. I don't want to see them get
Send the
hurt
Cowboys there.
Please.
Brock Purdy will be there.
What do I choke in the last 2 minutes? Hey, I want to tell you about the Fanatic Deal of the Week. Get a $50 gift card to Artillery Brewing in Drexel Hill and Westchester for just $25. Great spot, by the way. You will love Artillery Brewing. Experience the spirit of the American Revolution, Artillery Brewing. History meets exceptional draft beer and craft beers. Get this exclusive offer while supplies last at 975thefanatic.com/deals. They say it's the best 3 minutes. I have a feeling that Brendan Petrilli had his work cut out for him today.
Now, the Kincade Salciunas Key 3. Today's best.
Look, it was a weekend of tumult and a little angsty down in Atlanta. But if you look at the reality, things are looking pretty damn good for your Philadelphia Phillies heading into the last week before the All-Star game. Plus, 76ers roster getting finalized. That's looking good. And 7 members going to Texas. We'll get to it all today on Kincade Salciunas. And it's so funny to watch people and how they react to the angst of a big series and how it goes down. I personally have told people over and over again, I refuse to consume baseball like football. I just can't do it. I can't overreact to 2 out of 3 games. I can't overreact to, if you tell me that there's major catastrophic injury, that I can overreact to. If you tell me that there is a player that for 6 weeks goes into a slump, I can absolutely react to that, and we will coming up. But for the Phillies right now, at 58-32, I've been through too many baseball seasons to concern myself with no Schwarber, no Harper, no Real Muto. And the Phillies, and even though, honestly, in a situation like yesterday, Mercado was not ready for the stick. He wasn't ready for it. Or the humidity down there in Atlanta, which can choke you out. He was terribly missed. But for the Phillies right now, at 58-32, I hear people speaking of angst. I go to social media and I read of people having some angst. I honestly, my angst meter with this team is almost at 0. Almost.
At the beginning of the year, it's the first series, so you really don't get a gauge. And it was everything for Atlanta that first weekend, coming off of getting beat for a second straight year, coming in here to Citizens Bank Park. They were fired up that first weekend. So I'm not worried about the season series at this point. They're going to be fine. This is more, to me, John, this coming week, because you're going to probably have Harper back at some point here in the Dodgers series. You're going to have Schwarber back on Tuesday night. This is more of a measuring stick series coming up for me against the Dodgers than it was against the Braves. I'm not worried about the Braves are going to be there at the end. You're probably going to have to see them in the playoffs at some point. The Dodgers, to me, though, are the real measuring stick right now for the Phillies when you look at National League supremacy and getting home field advantage in a potential LCS.
Do you want to be the top seed or do you want to be the second? Do you want games 1 and 2 in LA or do you want them here?
Yeah, well, this is where my mentality from the beginning of the season very much comes back. Like, just get to the playoffs healthy and get there. Would I rather be the 1 seed? Yes.
Yeah, I would rather be the 1 seed. But if I'm not going to go freak out and think it's not going to.
No, like the fifth starter's not going to kill me in the postseason. They have enough to get it done.
Especially the other team that you would be battling for the 1 seed has a history of choking in the first round.
Why do you have to make it freak out? It's not a freak out for the Phillies to go get a 5th starter. Is not a freak out move. It's a logical.
I would like it. I would like it. Is it a
That's
concern?
A move that makes sense.
Is it a concern though? That was the whole premise of it, right?
Yes.
Like, do they have a real concern?
But it's a first world problem.
There's your key 3. Good job, Brendan Petrilli. Good job, crew. Great job by Haley with the YouTube. And look who's here with the midday menu himself. He's Mr. Bob Cooney.
What's up, boys?
Hey, cuz.
Everything good?
Everything's good.
My identical twin cousin, Kevin Cooney.
Everybody thinks we're related.
I wonder why.
You're both writers.
It's like looking in a mirror.
You're both named Cooney.
Yeah.
That means there's like a million other people
Okay,
in
have
Ireland.
have you ever done any of your research of your family much? Or anything?
Nah, I don't
Like,
do
I'm
that.
obsessed with this now. I've been doing it.
I have a cousin that does it. But
I've told this story before. I actually went to an interview for a job. I went to Starbucks to meet the guy. It was for a Sixer job. And it went, "Oh, hi, Bob. How are you?"
Oh, no.
yeah, that wasn't good, Kev. I
No,
felt
it
bad.
wasn't.
Good for him. All right, we get down to the last question. Bob, I want you a part of it. We put our Sweet 16 Eagles roster together today. Howie Roseman's got a expansion draft pick. We did Hurts, Brown, Smith, Barkley, Goddard, Johnson, Mailata, Dickerson, Elliott, Carter, Slay, CJ, GJ, Mitchell, Davis, and DeJean. Excuse me. Came down to Sweat and Huff for the last spot. Kevin Cooney, Sweat and Huff.
Oh, God. Sweat.
Brendan?
I'm going with Huff. I mean, the Eagles told you who they value more. They're betting on Huff. I'm going to go with them. I'm going to take their expertise on that one.
I'm going to go Huff, too. Bob, would you make it a 2-2?
I think I'd go Huff also because there's upside. You know what Sweat is. And let's not forget, Josh Sweat was good when he had a great rusher alongside of him in Hassan Reddick. You take that away, I don't know if he can elevate when, maybe some more of the focus is on him. So, yeah, I'd go with the unknown first, I think.
Can I keep my roster at 15?
No, you can't.
Oh.
16. It's a Sweet 16.
I get it.
If we did it tomorrow, it would have been the Sweet 15.
I know, because honestly, I hate their defensive line situation.
Bob,
I don't like their defensive situation much
period.
at all.
we couldn't come up with we could come up with no major concerns that we have about the Phillies. Is that short-sighted? We have no major concerns.
No, I don't think so. I mean, over 162. Look, you're going to get the good and the bad. You're going to get the ups and the downs. I heard what Kevin said about Alvarado. Yeah, that's a concern that's a little bit more to me because it's consistent throughout his career that this wildness comes into play. So I understand that. What the hell is Christian Pache doing here? Like, I can't stand that. I started this season by saying I was a little leery of no Poppin left and no Poppin center. But I'll take the lineup that was out there for the first, 40 games of the season. I miss Marsh hitting 8th and Rojas hitting 9th.
Bob, and the thing is, Pache is going to be here through August 1st because they're going to send Dahl down probably, and they're going to send Clemens down when they make the moves tomorrow.
I can do without him. And please, if people saying, yeah, but you got to watch out for other teams picking him up.
No one's taking Pache.
Somebody will,
no, but I mean,
I don't care.
I have to get it in my future Hall of Famer Johan Rojas line because of Kincade, who loves him.
Oh, I do. There's no way I'm.
Oh my
I'll
God!
take a 9-hole hitter that can defend like
anytime.
that. Yeah,
he's not defending that well.
Really,
he's been better since he came back.
Here it is.
Yeah,
I know you go.
I think they had a little. Start taking it more serious out in the field.
And bunting now,
I know
which is
you
a
go
big
to the
benefit.
games, and I know you do, Kevin. I know you work it. Talk to the pitchers and the staff about Johan Rojas.
I get
and
it.
See what they say. It's not just me.
No, but I
say it to
can
you.
tell you there were people in that organization who were upset about the way he approached his defense this year.
What's going on today, Bobby?
Nonchalant. We got Amy Fadul with us all day long. Tom McCarthy's going to join us at noon. So we'll find out the happenings more with the Phillies. And got to look at this Sixers roster. And I might have an Eagles thing or two to look at as far as roster goes. I mean, maybe I'm the only one. I am not sold on this defense at all.
No, I understand.
1-3. Yeah. Bob, 1-3.
No, it's not with you. You're on your own island there. Enjoy Disney.
Thank
Kevin,
you.
thanks for being in for Andrew today. Andrew will be back tomorrow. Brendan, great job today. Hey, support life-saving cancer research. Join us and our generous partner, the Davis CPA Group. Ron Davis keeps Bobby and I out of jail every year. Make a donation to the American Association for Cancer Research. Do it at 975thefanatic.com/AACR because cancer research saves lives. Tomorrow, reunited, and it feels so good. We're finally back together. Andrew will be back tomorrow, and the Phils begin a big series against the Dodgers. Stay tuned all day long. Bobby and Amy have got you next. And remember, Best Show Ever's got a ticket raid today for FanFest at 3. Don't miss it. Have a great day, everybody.